EAGLES, Eagles.
And welcome in, everybody, to a Wednesday morning edition of Birds 365 here on JAKIB Sports as we inch closer to the 2026 NFL Draft. Just 15 days away, everybody. 2 weeks and 1 day, 2 Thursdays from now, that will kick off. So getting ready and getting close to that. We also have some drama, I guess you could call it, in Eagle Land. I don't like to go to drama, but we will be talking about
page
that.
Page 6. New York Post, page 6 drama.
Yes, no doubt about it. Johnny Mac, we'll start right there, my friend. Before we do that, how you doing on this Wednesday morning, J-Mac?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm doing better than Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini. It's interesting. We were talking about this. What was it, yesterday or recently, about Jay Glazer, a different aspect about Jay Glazer.
Correct. Yep.
Having his annual party for head coaches at the owners meeting. I'm not talking. I don't care about people's personal behavior. That's none of my business. But there is. You're not supposed to get romantically involved with people you report on, obviously, from a standard. Look, there's a lot of things, and we all break them at some point. I don't know of anybody stricter than me on the policy of don't take free shit, except maybe Zach Berman won't do it. Like, if you want to hand me alcohol, I'll take alcohol, like Crown Royal did a Eagles themed bottle last year, and they said, "Hey, you want one?" I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." That's about as far as I'll go. I know Zach was telling me a story once about, one of his books, and he had a signing, and people tell him to sign "Go Birds," and he won't do it. And it doesn't go over well sometimes. I would say with Krause and asking me to put on an Eagles jersey, I won't do it. Like, you're not supposed to do any of this shit. And this is very similar. You're certainly not supposed to get wrong. And I don't know if they are. I mean, you can read the story and go where you want to go with it. But Jordan Schultz, his father created Starbucks. One of the reasons he gets the information he gets because he, takes players out to lavish dinners because he's got money. I don't agree with any of the quid pro quo stuff, but I will say I got a ton of, and I know Diana just a little bit, not great, but oh, your girl did this. I'm like, if anything, the information it should confirm. She's got some pretty good sources.
There's also another way to look at that, where Mike Vrabel wants to make his football team better, and he's planning everything he can through Diana to try and make that come to fruition. There's multiple ways to look at that, John.
Well, yeah, but the problem is Eagles fans aren't looking at Les Snead confirming it by himself at the NFL owners meetings about everybody else. Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, down to little guys like me telling you the same thing. The information is real. How she got it might be untoward. I don't know. It might not be.
Well, let me set the stage, because I want to ask you some questions here on it. I think you've given already a good opening synopsis on it. For those who don't know, pictures got released yesterday from page 6, and I don't know who else was it, New York Post, of Diana Rossini holding hands, hugging, sitting in a hot tub with Mike Vrabel at an adults-only resort. Look, I'm with John here. I'm not going to go in and speculate on their personal life or what they do in their free time. Frankly, I don't really give a shit. If there is any merit to them, then I think they're bedbugs and shitty people, because I don't trust anybody who cheats on their spouse or handles business like that. That's just my own 2 cents. So to me, it's a slash in the tires of her credibility, even just the look of it. But both married, and before any of you guys reach out, these are people that cover the league. You know, I mean, this is Diana Rossini covers this league, and you know, look, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that nothing happens. You know, that's out of bounds that people don't know, but this is an awful look, dude. I mean, this is a terrible
look. That's their problem. It's a terrible look. As you said, they're both.
But I mean, I don't want to get you to talk about their personal. I know you don't give a shit about that. I want you to talk about the journalistic integrity because
no, you shouldn't get romantic. Period. You shouldn't get romantically involved with anybody you report on. I mean, there's been people who've gotten married to athletes who've reported, and you look it up. That ain't good. You know, but it's life. You know, and the fact, and you know, female reporters would have to talk about this, you know, from a better standing than me. But there's a lot of legitimate female reporters that do it the right way that are going to be pissed off at this because it makes them look bad, and they already have that other hurdle to try to get over. And like I said, you know, there was recently a ESPN reporter who's with a Phillies player. I mean, look it up.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't like the shit is new. And it's every single time. Yeah. I mean, you shouldn't even be considering it.
Maybe
but,
I'm wrong
people
for
are
this,
people.
But you know, and I'm not condoning or saying that the Phillies people or the ESPN girl should be with the Phillies guy, but two people in their 20s, young people, unmarried.
Well, I know. I mean,
that's a little different to me than
it is.
Maybe I'm wrong for that, but that, you know,
no, it is. I'm not comparing. You fall in love, whatever. But blah blah blah. But if you want to be in this industry, you shouldn't be getting romantically involved with the people you cover. Period. End of sentence.
Agreed.
Doesn't matter.
Here's why I think this matters to Eagles fans, John. Because I don't want to be a gossip hour here. That's not what I'm trying to be at all. But this is, you know, Diana Rossini's kind of been the lead reporter on everything that's been going on with AJ. Now, there's a lot of other reports, like you're saying. I get it. There's other people, but she's been the one consistently, you know, over the course of time, the most consistent in bringing up this conversation, tying the Eagles trading AJ Brown specifically to the New England Patriots. Now, I mean, anything that she says, anything that she cites about AJ Brown, about the Patriots, about all these interests, I don't understand how somebody wouldn't look at that and put zero credibility.
That's all I'm pointing, you know, because I got a bunch, and you know, everything's your own purview, your own experience. So I got a bunch of people, hey, what you're, you know, trying to dunk the football. I'm like, that it's somehow wrong because of this. Now, the actions are wrong. The information's not wrong. How many times have I said on this show, it's coming from outside the organization? How many times? I'm not banging Mike Vrabel. I mean, you know, people perceive it because Diana's got a big platform. She's a big personality. You know, WIP made her Eagles Insider of the Year or whatever bullshit they do. So I get it from their perception, but like she ain't the only one that's been saying this.
I know that, and I'm not sitting here saying that this story means that all the AJ Brown smoke is not true. That's not what I'm saying. But you know, when you drop shit in water, John, no matter how small that drop of crap is, that's spoiled water.
Well, that's her problem. I'm trying to tell Eagles fans, because she's driving 2 hours away from Phoenix and Mike Vrabel and doing what they're doing from a personal perspective, and from a you know, that's their business. They're adults, even if they want to be bad people and they're both married, yada yada. It's still, you know, they're consenting adults. They can ruin their families if they want to. That's none of my business. That the aspect of, yes, it's unprofessional. Just like what Jay Glazers does is unprofessional. What Jordan Schultz does is unprofessional. in a different way. What I do when Crown Royal sends me a bottle of liquor is unprofessional, to be honest. I'll call myself out. I shouldn't do that. From a strict journalistic perspective in what you're taught to do, don't accept anything free. Don't do this. No quid pro quo. It's also not the real world. Every single one of these national guys or girls has improper relationships. You know, you don't even have to see when you see somebody signing somewhere, and maybe it's somebody coming off a bad season. And, Jimmy Kemsky points this out a lot. Our buddy Jimmy, who says, look at, oh, this guy's going to be a massive contributor, blah, blah, directly from the words of the agent, trying to spin the player who may be, crappy or having a bad season or this or that. And you have this glowing recommendation. Even down to simple things like that. It's all unprofessional. Unfortunately, that's where we are. There's a lot of media literacy in the world, and there's a lot of people, it's corrupted. But I mean, I can't fix that. And you have certain people like I would hold Zach up as number one. I mean, that guy doesn't do anything. Won't accept, the Eagles give us little like trinkets at games, a notebook, a cup, at your station in the press box to have in the past. I take that stuff well, and I give it to friends and family, because I live in South Jersey and 99% of the people are Eagles fans, and I just give it away. Some people leave it there, because they're not allowed to take it.
Well, I get that. And I get all that. I just think that, the woman who's been reporting on this so much, is now caught out with the head coach in which she's reporting about.
And like I said, personally, it's a terrible look for both of them.
I mean, quite frankly, I don't think it gets better. I think there should be potential ramifications there. I mean, how the hell are you going to be the lead reporter for the NFL, for The Athletic, a massive organization, and you're 2 hours away in a hot tub with the head coach of the Patriots? By the way, I don't want to pile on her, but it's not the first time a story like this has come out on Diana. So, when things start to add up, I think credibility can really find itself.
Well, that's the tubes. I did see the New York Times already defended her, but and we'll see how it goes as it continues. The crisis management, it might change overnight. I mean, I would if they move on from her, it wouldn't shock me. I mean, like I said, it's the New York Times now. The Athletic's owned by the New York Times. So, the old gray lady, as they say, the top newspaper in the country, even though newspapers barely exist anymore, but, they've tried to do things the right way. Other people will say, they've gotten tremendously left-leaning and yada, 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 and it's not. And they've already defended her, so that's to be determined. But look, that's the hole they've dug themselves. Mike Vrabel's not going anywhere. He's not getting fired. No. Is it embarrassing for him? Sure. He's got to deal with his family and his wife. And Diana's got to do the same thing. Look. And there's no, you could spin, and that's what they're trying to do. The spin of there's nothing untoward in the actual pictures. And they both claim they're there with a group of friends. Only the paparazzi, whoever got those pictures, knows if they were trying to frame it in a certain way and they left out pictures of other people that maybe make it less damning than it looks. I have no information on that. I can just say what they said. I know if I'm at the NFL's owners meeting, I'm not driving 2 hours to go meet a small group of friends. I can just use common sense. So, people can take it any way they want to take it. But from a journalistic standpoint, yeah, it's unprofessional. But I'll say the same thing about Jay, and I did on the show. It's fucking unprofessional. Sticking the camera phone, there's Nick Sirianni. It's unprofessional. I know what bar Nick hangs out with. I live pretty close to Nick. I don't go there looking for him. Other people would.
Has it changed your thought process on the story or on the report about AJ Brown? Look, I still believe that there's a lot of smoke there. But has it changed your thought process at all on it, just from the clear conflict of interest here that's been presented, or at least has come to the surface now?
Not one iota, because everybody, and if Diana was first, and I don't know if she was first or Adam was first.
I think she's been very consistent on it, though. Consistently talking about it and making it.
Yeah, I not one iota, because they tend to get stuff first, but then that's what we do. Then we go to work and we do our own work. Mine is about the people that I've talked to, and I've said pretty consistently that Howie keeps things under wraps to us. So most of my information is coming from outside the organization, which I've said multiple times on this show, if people listen. The people around the league think that he's going to be traded. So no, it doesn't change anything about what's going on. And then you got further confirmation. Like, I also said I didn't buy that Howie Roseman would trade AJ Brown to the Rams. I've said that multiple times. Didn't buy it because I was told early on it's AFC or bust. And so I looked at that kind of side-eyed, and I'm like, the Rams?
Right. I remember when we talked about it originally, it was the same thing.
But hell, and here's Les Snead coming out and saying it's true. The GM of the Rams.
Right. So how about specifically the Patriots part of it?
Well, the Patriots are very interested. So in a weird way, although it's unprofessional, it confirms it even more. Like, we all know the Patriots are the favorite.
Yeah, but does I agree it confirms it. But does it muddy the water in terms of, how much merit and truth there is to the reporting, as opposed to sensationalizing potentially or embellishing something, to get something out of, or to get a better result for the person that you might be sleeping with? At the very least,
I mean, I would have to parse through her individual reports. From the standpoint of, did it help her get it first? Maybe. From the standpoint of helping the Patriots get him, I don't know how she could. Like, how does that work? So I don't know how she could, unless she's got a relationship with that. I don't want to go down that route. I don't know how that would affect the Eagles' thinking on it. Now, if you want to talk about one thing that sticks into my mind is unserious. The people from Boston saying that the Eagles' request was unserious. I remember that word specifically, but that was a Boston reporter. That wasn't Diana, to the best of my knowledge. So no, it doesn't change my thinking on the actual information at all. Sorry to say, for some Eagles fans who want to say, it's not real. I mean, if you're saying it's not real, you're ignoring every other report out there, plus the GM of the Los Angeles Rams.
Well, again, I don't think the story is wrong in terms of AJ, being upset with the Eagles offense. I think the person who's tied it most often to the Eagles and the Patriots has
Well,
just been proven to be a
AJ being
faulty
upset
source.
stuff. I mean, you would have to track it back, but I mean,
It's been pretty consistent. John, how many times on this show have we talked about Diana? Because Eagle fans, right or wrong at the time, in hindsight,
yeah,
were ripping her.
but I think the local people reported AJ's unhappiness way before.
I'm not disputing the AJ's unhappiness part. I'm talking about the Patriots part.
Oh, the Patriots part, yeah.
On the Patriots part.
Well, the Patriots part, well, she's adamant on it because it's real, and she probably has better information, but it's real, and they were always the favorite. And Mike Vrabel loves AJ Brown, But I get, asking the question of, but how I turn it back on these people. Like, how can she help Mike Vrabel get AJ Brown from the Eagles? I mean, she doesn't have that kind of power.
It's true. That's true. Howie can sit there and laugh at it. That doesn't mean he has to be moved at all by it. But bad look, awful look, I'd say. Appearance of conflict is insurmountable at this point, especially as a credible reporter. John, I'm not going to speak for you, but my opinion on it is her credibility is in the tubes. All right. And we will see what the fallout is of that. We got Mike Gill in the room. We got a great show planned. Got Mike Gill, got Brandon Lee Goutton in hour number 2. We'll talk about it. We are getting closer to the draft too, so we're not going to spend all show on this. But it is something, obviously, that kind of took over the NFL world last night, came out late, and is something we will talk about. I want to thank all you guys for being here. Don't forget to hit that like button. One super chat to go before we get Mike Gill. Eagle Nest, come on, man. John, you sound like a moron. You want Diana next. All right, we're not going to respond to just personal. If you want to ask a question.
No, well, this is the idiots I've been dealing with over the past 24 hours. It is what it is. They're just blind fans, and they're hoping against hope. Depending, some people want AJ out of here. Some people want him in here. First of all, I've said pretty consistently, I'm a big AJ Brown fan. I'd love to keep him in Philadelphia if possible. Doesn't want to be here.
Let's keep rolling here. We got Mike Gill in the green room. Let's go to Mike Gill right now. He joins us here on Birds 365. You can follow him at Mike Gill Show. Listen to him at 97.3 ESPN down the shore. Mike, I'm sure you weren't expecting to walk into this on Wednesday on Birds.
The idiots are out. Full bore, Mike. Mike knows Diana better than me. He's going to get some
I wouldn't say I know her that well.
Well, you got her phone number. I don't have her phone number.
Yeah, right.
No.
I had her on at the Super Bowl. She was very nice.
Yeah, very nice person. Actually, I do have her phone number. I take that back. But that for other aspects.
I do have her phone number.
That might be changed.
Being a nice person and being a good person are two very different things.
Yeah, well, at first, when I saw the story, I'm like, this almost seems like it's an AI generated situation, obviously, in today's world. And you're just kind of like, it's kind of just like, I didn't know. I really didn't remember that she covered the Titans. That's number one. So I didn't have that connection that she covered the Titans. And I'm not like someone who keeps a scorecard of like, she got this right or that was wrong or blah, blah, blah. I'm not really paying attention to all that stuff. I don't know. At first, I was just like, oh, she covers the NFL. There he is. I didn't realize it was like some romantic, like adult theme, like adult hotel that he had.
Well, I think it's not like I think that it was the New York Post who broke the story. So
yeah. That's the thing. The fact, the picture, I thought it was just like one of these things where everybody from the league is at the same hotel. It's like, hey, it's good to see you.
Yeah.
The fact that he had to drive an hour and a half to go to an adult themed, like,
well, the only thing I want to push back, I think when you say like there are hotels, put the baby ears on if you don't want to know this. There are hotels for adult people in, like the rooms are a certain theme and you go there to have sex, basically. They're sex places. This hotel is a high scale. Yeah, it's adults, and you can do whatever you want.
Well,
This
yeah,
is a high scale.
Adult hotel could be no kids allowed. You don't
Yes,
want kids
no kids
around.
allowed. That's what this hotel was. It wasn't.
Right.
It wasn't the seedy. That's all I'm trying to point.
Yeah. So the fact that he drove an hour and a half to go there, I think you have to raise eyebrows a little bit. Like, you really you couldn't find a hotel anywhere else.
Well, it's 2 hours, I would say. Now, it's by the Red Rock Mountains.
Now, she's claiming that there were other friends there that were not depicted in the pictures. Yes. However, the person who gave the information to the Post is saying, I never saw anybody else. It's not a good look, no doubt about it. That being said, she was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what do you think? I mean, look, I don't want to get.
Does it back when you hear about this? Does it impact your thoughts on?
Well, I definitely see everybody connects the dots immediately, and it's like, well, all that stuff is out the window. My question would be, I guess. Now, she is, correct me if I'm wrong, based near us. Like, I think she lives in like South Jersey.
She lives in North Jersey. I think North Jersey.
I know she said to me.
I think
I don't remember where she said she lives, but she did tell me that she's at. She comes down the shore a lot. Strathmere, the Deauville is one of their favorite spots. So she's down in this area enough that she knew what she was talking about. Anyway, her husband's a big Eagles fan.
Yeah,
I do know that.
That poor guy. He's taking some shit today.
Yeah, not a great spot to be in.
Get up and I advice to that dude if he's listening: get up and run, brother. Don't sit there and wait on that bullshit. Are you kidding me?
Well, so I guess my what I'm getting at is, have they not seen each other in a long time? He obviously doesn't live near here. I don't know. Like, is this like a ongoing thing? Is it a once in a blue moon when we see each other, we reconnect? I have no idea. This isn't like my expertise here. But the point on the information is, how often do these, you know what I'm saying? Like, how often would they talk that he would be giving her that type of information? Seems to be somewhat sketchy in my mind, I guess.
Even if the way
unless they're meeting at a hotel, adult theme, driving 2 hours more frequently than we're Although with that job that she had, I don't know how often she's even at home.
But my only point is, look, all of it's, even if she got it first, and I don't remember who got it first. It might have been Schefter, it might have been, but we know the group. But she's been, at least in the Eagles fans' eyes, she's been the most prominent. Everybody else has since confirmed it, including local people like us.
And not to mention, it's not only New England. The Rams.
The Rams GM confirmed it. That's what I've been saying.
Right. So I don't know how. I don't know. This is I feel like I'm on TMZ Live all the time.
I know.
How did like the fact that she has this information? She's not the only one that has this information, by the way. It was just reported by Mike Sando before these pictures came out, by the way, on Sunday, I guess it was, that basically the entire league feels like he's going to get traded on June 1st. Now, was that based on the information that she kept putting out there, that AJ wants to come here or they want this, like leading up to it, that all the executives are now like, it's going to happen? Possible, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I'm with you. I dread days like this because, they're adults. It's none of my business. Other than, from a journalism standpoint, you shouldn't be romantically involved with people you cover. So if that's the case.
Yeah, and then it muddies the water. I mean, look, I don't want to sit here and talk about some other people's sex lists. I don't give a rat's ass, but I do think it muddies the water completely.
Well, yeah, I said the same thing about Jay Glazer and the party.
Yeah, I'm not saying you haven't been consistent, John. I'm talking about this situation because she has been. I mean, Mike, do you agree to this? A lot of people have reported this. I'm not saying that all the smoke around AJ Brown is all of a sudden not there. That is not what I'm insinuating or not what I believe, but Diana has been kind of at the forefront of these trade conversations, especially when it comes to AJ Brown being tied to the New England Patriots?
Sure. There's no listen, there's no debating that. In fact, even I know Adam Schefter he does his hit on the radio weekly, and he has kind of almost been like, there's nothing here, guys. I don't know what else to tell you. Where, like he's almost like, it is what it, like, there's not a whole heck of a lot more to this story than what's out there. So yes, she has certainly been at the forefront of this. Now, that being said, she's also one of the few nationally known reporters. And I guess if she has a story, that she thinks she has something with. Now, where is she getting the information from to a team that is that direct to this? Is obvious that everybody's connecting those dots. I don't know. It's not a good look, no question about it. And the bad part is, listen, if they were just two people that had a past because she covered the team and they're being friendly, her reputation is certainly soiled. There's no question about that.
Yeah,
because everybody's going to believe what they want to believe.
Yeah,
there's no way to prove otherwise.
Well, I guess there is a line of thinking that would say that, maybe it's more likely that the negotiations are happening, and I guess you can make that line of thinking too with her.
Well, I think that's my line of thinking.
Yeah,
but to the point of like helping the I don't know how she could help the Patriots acquire AJ Brown. Like I don't know why. Like that's an avenue some people have gone down with me.
Like if the Patriots had interest, the GM would just call Howie and say, "Are you guys interested in trading Howie?"
Exactly.
They don't need her.
There's not. It's frustrating.
Like it's almost as if they're. The thought process is, we will give her this. I can't imagine the GM is saying to the coach, "Hey, you have a relationship with Diana Rossini, right? Can you tell her our plans and our thoughts to see what the public reaction would be if they would approve of us making such a deal?"
Yeah, I don't.
You know what I mean, Zander? Like that would mean that the GM and the front office would almost have to know that there was something nefarious going on to have him be the one to tell her the information. That's a lot of connecting the dots.
I don't disagree. But,
you know what I mean? Like that's where I'm having a hard time just being like, well, of course it came from them, because then the GM would have to also know. Now maybe he is. I mean, there's a circle of dudes that just like that they're not good people. Maybe Vrabel and the front office guys just aren't good people, and they're all messing around. Who knows? The Sopranos, I think I watched a TV show that had that going on. But you look at that situation where, hey, Vrabel, you still got that little thing going on with Diana? Oh, yeah, we get together at a 2-hour ride hotel every 3 weeks. Hey, next time you see her, why don't you see if she wants to let everybody know we have interest in AJ Brown, and then we'll take the temperature of our fan base to see if they're on board of us making such a trade.
So that's making Elliot Wolf to be an evil genius. I don't think he's capable of that.
Yeah, that being said, again, it's not a good look for her regardless of what happens.
No, it's a terrible look for her.
It's a terrible look for
her. There's no getting around it. And it impacts others as well, because as I said, she's not the first female reporter that's gotten involved with an athlete or in this case, a coach who used to be an athlete. And they have a tougher time. And there's female reporters who try to do the job like it's supposed to be done, and they have a tougher hurdle because, they have to overcome that stigma. But there's, that's disappointing, I imagine, for a bunch of people. But yeah, there's no way to spin it as a positive look for Diana Rossini. Nope. My only point as being on an Eagles show, Mike, is that, this is all real. That nothing changed from the standpoint of the story on AJ Brown. It's all real. Sorry.
Well, and that's what, when we had her on at the Super Bowl, I was getting, a lot of people who were angry to hear what she had to say.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like people don't like her because of what information she had. Regardless of how she got the information, she had information that people didn't want to hear, right? It was the A.J. Brown. The people who don't want him traded don't want to hear that there was somebody.
Such a bizarre. Why are people like that, Mike? Put your psychiatrist out.
That happens in every. I mean, it's the same situation. If you have an opinion, whether you're not reporting information, but you just don't agree with someone's opinion, they don't like what you have to say, so therefore, then they don't like you. You know, it's like just because we don't have the same opinion on stuff, you don't have to not like the person.
I agree.
It's
I think
so
that should be. I think that could be extrapolated across the whole freaking world, every sector.
It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre to me. You know, you blame the messenger, basically.
Well, you know, she has certainly put herself in a tough spot to continue to do that job. Meanwhile, she might be able to do the job. Maybe people in league circles don't care. Okay.
They definitely don't care. They definitely don't care.
Right. The Athletic has come out and support her pretty much right from the get-go. But the problem will be, now she doesn't, like, she's not on television like she used to be all the time, like with ESPN, you see her on TV. That would be a hard way. I think that would be a hard sell for people to see her on TV. But she's mostly doing, now she has a podcast that's video-based. People can choose whether they want to view that or not. They can read her stuff or not. So as long as she's getting but I don't think if she was on television like Schefter was, that probably would be a much more difficult path for her.
Yeah, we'll see the fallout. I mean, you're right. I was surprised how quickly the Athletic came out.
You know, the For You tab is probably the worst thing in the history of inventions. I know what might be
For
You tab. So at first I'm like, this cannot be real. Like, it was just everywhere. And I'm like, there's no way this is accurate. And you know, my phone's blowing up because we had her on at the Super Bowl. Somebody was at the Super Bowl with me, just sent me like the link with the eyes blinking. And I'm like, what the hell? So then, of course, like, I'm looking at the pictures, like trying to investigate. Well, you know, maybe there's a lot of people around. They haven't seen each other in a while. Like, but it almost, the one picture, I can't believe we're breaking down these pictures, but the one picture almost,
film. Go ahead.
Like their fingers,
they were fingers locked,
and her face almost looks like I shouldn't be doing this, but you know, I'm kind of like I've come too far.
There we go, Mike Gill breaking it down, Zapruder film style. Like it. Yeah, who thought we'd be here? I hate when shit like this happens, only because it's all gossip.
It's gossip. People make bad decisions, and
this is a TMZ story. Yeah,
it is. I mean, but there is journalistic integrity that I think should be. I mean, we've addressed.
Unfortunately, that's been blown to smithereens by a bunch of people long before Diana Rossini. But
and personally now, Diana Rossini has blown her own to smithereens. Her own
that's her issue.
And listen, that not only that, again, regardless now, this is the funny part of things. When people don't like certain things, they just shout out fake news and hope it goes away. In this situation, it's funny. No one ever thinks when they want to believe something that it could be fake news. And everybody universally thinks this one is not fake. And she can't just say, hey, it's fake news, regardless of whether it is or not. Everybody.
She could.
But the point here in this situation is nobody would want to believe that it's fake news because it's such a salacious story. So she and he, who is also married, by the way, are in a situation where everybody who saw that believes what they saw, and no one is taking their word as, they're just a couple of friends who haven't seen each other in a while.
Yeah, not a good look. Not a good look. But we will move on. I don't want to spend all day talking about this fucking thing, but it is what it is. You know, I don't want to gossip.
You know, when I first saw the pictures, I didn't put together that I was on the show today. And when I was getting ready for this, I almost kind of forgot that it happened and never even put two and two together that this would be a conversation starter today.
Yeah.
So I wasn't as prepared as I could have been. I apologize.
No, you're good. No worries. Mike, what are we? 15 days out, my friend, from the 2026 start of the NFL draft. Where are you on what the Eagles should do? I'm hearing a lot of different things. Has receiver become more possible in your eyes in that round one? The Eagles have 4 picks in the first 100, so they have pretty good position and to get some key impact players. How have your thought processes changed, if at all, as we've gotten closer here to the NFL draft?
Well, I mean, if they take a wide receiver at 23, that would certainly be an eye-opening thing of what could happen after that. Let me see what you guys think about this. I've asked this question about A.J. Brown being traded, and most people believe June 1st. And we might have talked about it here last week, but if the Eagles think they're a true Super Bowl contender, can they really trade A.J. Brown post-draft and not get a player to help the 2026 team in return? So, with that being said, do you keep a closer eye on who New England drafts in terms of if Philadelphia says, hey, listen, when you draft, if that guy's on the board, that's who you need to take, and that would consummate a deal on June 1st. I know the NFL would frown upon that. Obviously, you're not technically allowed to do that, but maybe that was the message.
That's very NBA-like.
Yeah. She was telling Vrabel, the Eagles want this guy at 31. That's who you need to take there.
It's interesting.
Because if you guys agree, if you trade A.J. Brown post-draft and don't get a player, like if you get a first-round pick and a third-round pick in next year's draft, you're not helping this team out. So the 2026 Eagles team is lesser than they were, but with A.J. Brown. So would Howie Roseman really go into a season that they have Super Bowl aspirations? I think we all believe that. And trade a player away and get nothing in return to help this year's team out?
It's interesting because it's one of the things I hate about the NBA draft, Mike, is, you got to, they have that weird rule where you got to go through all the rigmarole. Like if the Sixers draft so-and-so, they got to put on the Sixers hat. But they didn't really draft him. They drafted him to trade him to somebody else. I hate that.
Yeah, Alfred Payton.
I think it's one of the easiest fixes ever for the NBA. Just let them do it beforehand. However, that's a different discussion. I don't think the NFL wants to go down that route. You can trade rookies. I had to look that up because nobody does it, certainly first round picks. The last one was, which I didn't remember, was Eli Manning, who did get drafted and then got traded. So you got to go back to 2004. So it's been a long time. I guess it's possible, but I don't think that would happen. But
I bring that up to answer a little bit of Zander's question, because if New England takes a wide receiver, that would be interesting. That would start a lot of conversation as well of, let's say Boston's on the board. 23, the Eagles take him. That's going to start speculation. Let's say Boston goes past Philly and gets to 31, which I doubt would happen, but New England took Boston. Then people would probably restart up. Oh, are they taking Boston to trade him to Philly? Because if you're Howie Roseman, I don't see how you can trade A.J. Brown and not get anything back to help the 2026 Eagles. You might get a first and third round pick.
Well, I would argue, even if you insert your favorite receiver, Denzel Boston, Cooper, who else? Lemon. Insert your favorite receiver. Doesn't matter if you get them; they're not going to be A.J. Brown, at least early. So from the impact that if they trade him, and all indications are, as Mike Sando said, and a lot of people have said, certainly around the league, the perception is they're going to trade him, which post June 1st, so it has to be June 2nd, but that's where it starts. You're not replacing that anyway with Denzel Boston. So, but you've come to the conclusion that it's addition by subtraction. They have to go about it a different way, that the angst is removed and maybe you could do things differently. And maybe Sean Mannion can get more people involved and maybe you can get Jalen Hurts more comfortable, yada, yada, yada. You're counting on other things. You're not counting on we're going to get better because we lost A.J. Brown. So I think
Right.
they've already come to that sort of sentiment. And
guess
maybe somebody like Boston turns into a big-time player in 2-3 years, but that's going to take some time.
Yeah, unless you make like a Micah Parsons type of deal where you get the draft picks and then some sort of player to help you in another area. It doesn't have to be.
What about a trade? What about a trade? A lot of people speculate about Brian Thomas or somebody like that. Or, Jacksonville has some good receivers. He had still a good young player. A lot of people talked about Marvin Harrison Jr. Hasn't worked out early in Arizona. That rookie contract player, that they did with AJ. Right. That's what they did with AJ.
Well, I think that would mean that it's more likely AJ's gone as compared to a draft pick. Like a draft pick to me doesn't guarantee, in my opinion, that AJ would be gone this year. But probably next year it would. But like I look at the Tampa Bay Bucks, John, I think I brought them up yesterday. They drafted Emeka Egbuka. Now, different situation because Mike Evans is older and stuff. But, he came into the year as a first-round draft pick as the number 3 receiver on that football team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now they're positioned better to lose Mike Evans.
Yeah.
So I can see the Eagles trying to do something like that, because look, the team that traded us A.J. Brown, they tried to replace him with a draft pick
on the same night.
Right. Yeah.
Treylon Burks, baby.
Out too well. That didn't work out.
Treylon Burks.
No, but it's plausible that Philadelphia could trade A.J. Brown, get a first and a third, which I would imagine is what they're still, clinging to. Because if you don't trade A.J. Brown this season and you wait to next season, you're probably not getting a first and a third as the ask anymore. So it's almost like you maximize what you get in return, but don't get a player to help this team potentially, or you can't get that trade. You don't get what you're asking for. He stays. Maybe he doesn't go the way you want. And then you have to try again next season, off season, to trade him. He's another year older. I would imagine you can no longer ask for that level of compensation. So they're in a spot where they have to figure out, do we want the highest level of compensation we can get, which would probably be in this offseason? Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, the longer you wait, probably, the less it comes. Once you hit 30, we know how the NFL works. Once that happens, you might as well have leprosy as far as this league is concerned.
Especially a wide receiver.
Yeah. So, and, there's already concerns about the knee and longevity and all that date back to when he was drafted. So, yeah, I definitely agree that the longer you wait, probably the less you're going to get in return. Is there any opening for a reunion? I hate to put it in terms of making up with your spouse this morning, but similar type of situation where some bad shit goes down and some people can get over it and move forward for the sake of the children. If the Eagles come back and Sean Mannion's Bill Walsh reincarnated and Jalen Hurts turns into the best play action quarterback in the NFL and the Eagles win another Super Bowl, can the relationship be saved, Mike Gill?
Well, I don't, obviously we're not behind closed doors. The only one who's close enough would be you, that I don't know even how well you see them interact, if at all. Secondly, he hasn't openly come out and said he doesn't like anybody. Like, it's not like we can't get along or this can't coexist. It's
all passive aggressive is what it is.
It seems that his dissatisfaction is with the offense and his role in that offense. So then they now have a new offensive coordinator that is seemingly going to change the offense. The owner and the coach have come out of their way to say how much different the offense is going to be. Is that them trying to send their message to AJ that, hey, give us a shot in this new offense? They then, put this story out there seemingly to let Jalen, no, you are on the clock, man. AJ, look, we're doing everything we can to let you know we've made the changes, and we are making him aware that if it doesn't work, then there could be changes, and he could be part of the changes. Are they trying to save the relationship?
Yeah, that's an, I was thinking about that because I'm writing a story about narratives surrounding Jalen Hurts and the reality. And one of the narratives, so I'll ask you guys, both of you guys, is obviously that the team is sending him a message through the media.
I saw that. Jeff McClain put that out.
If that's the case, like, is this even salvageable? Like, if you can't have honest discussions behind the scenes, and you gotta get through to somebody through the media,
right? Well, wasn't that what was reported in the story, that the Eagles know that the only way to kind of get to
that's
Jalen,
Jeff. That's what Jeff reported.
Right. The only way to really get to Jalen is to, in fact, go through the media, because seemingly he's uncoachable and is not willing to listen to the criticism in his face.
But he will listen to if there's a PR damage. I assume that's what they insinuated by that.
Yeah.
Right. Through the media.
So is that even a relationship worth salvaging? Forget about AJ. Is that a relationship worth salvaging? If that's true,
the answer would be no, unless you went to the quarterback privately and he said, "Listen, I can still work with him. Don't worry about me." Or if he said, "You guys, we can't coexist. You got to get rid of this guy." And Devontae, Dallas, we're fine. Like, let's get this guy out of here. You would have to have that conversation, right?
Well, even if it's not true, let's just say it's not true, but the Eagles believe that. That's a problem in itself.
Yeah, I would think so. That's an ugly situation to me.
John, do you believe that? I mean,
you guys are talking Eagles every day. I mean, where I'm at this moment, the Flyers are starting to pick up.
Flyers, yeah, going to make the playoffs.
Yes, exactly. So the Eagles are a little bit under the radar now since that story dominated the conversation for us, a week ago. But since that story was on a Monday or a Tuesday, it kind of lasted the week. Has it dissipated, and will it be forgotten about by the time, I don't know, the draft's going to start heating up here a little bit more, I would imagine. But do you think the news cycle has already pushed that story away?
Boy, I don't think so. Maybe, obviously my life is Eagle-centric, but
right.
All anybody talks about from a national perspective is the Eagles. And, certainly it's not going away. The next time we get to talk to Jalen Hurts, whenever that will be, which they'll try to keep him away as long as humanly possible. Yeah, so I don't see it that way. I see, somebody from your perspective, I get it. It's the rare time the Flyers get some love, and some people start talking about the Flyers. The Sixers are probably going to be in the play-in pool, but they're going to make the playoffs from that perspective. And the Phillies obviously have started. So you have a bunch more stuff going on from your perspective. So I get it from there. But boy, in the NFL world, it's all Eagles all the time, which thankfully for this show's sake. But
so that's why I'm asking you guys might, see how much a little differently that people are still kind of hanging on and opining on the story and what it means, because.
Well, like one of the guys I saw, John Middlecoff, I'm not picking on him, but he used to be an Eagle scout. And one of the narratives, like John was saying, that and basically, and I've said it here, it's not a secret. If you were to go in the locker room, AJ's probably more popular. Not probably.
Well, I talked to everybody I had on. Now, this could, what else are they going to say? I'd imagine, but they were all defensive players now. We had at the Super Bowl, we had on Cooper DeJean, Reed Blankenship, Nakobe Dean, and all of them huge smiles, glowing about how much they loved AJ.
Oh
AJ's
my
their
God,
boy.
Cooper.
They love AJ.
Yeah, Cooper is Cooper and AJ are thick as thieves now.
Yeah, so it's obvious now. It's interesting they're all defensive guys. What would the offensive players? Would they also?
No, they're the same way.
Yeah.
But I did, and the only thing I pushed back with John, and kid, it's radio hyperbole, whatever. 100% of the people. Yeah. I'm like, now that I don't like, because there's, we're getting up to the draft, and there's going to be, you're going to populate the whole roster, the offseason. There's 90 players, there's 30 coaches, there's 50 people in football ops and scouting, there's support staff. You're talking about 250 people. There is not 250 people on the face of the planet, Mike Gill, that would agree to the same thing at any given time. Just not possible.
No, 53, even just the 53 men that play on 46 on a Sunday. There's no way that those guys get along.
Exactly. It's absurd.
But AJ seemingly is a popular figure in there. The article about Hurts would make it seem that he's less popular.
Yeah, and that's fair, but not everybody hates Jalen Hurts.
I think it'd be pretty damning though if what McLean wrote about that the Eagles feel the only way to get across to Jalen is a 5,000 word ESPN story. That to me would not be a good thing. I mean, that is, if that's true, that is not a good thing.
No, it's not. It's not a good thing at all. And if that is true, I don't know why you'd want to repair that relationship. Other than I heard a conspiracy from somebody else who's less credible, but nonetheless, it did perk up. The idea that we all heard Jeffrey Lurie's words about Jalen Hurts.
I heard this. You should give him credit. Who was it?
Spike
Eskin, yeah.
So I hesitate, but I thought it was a good point to convince Jeffrey Lurie. Because Jeffrey loves Jalen Hurts, and to wake up Jeffrey Lurie and say, "Look, dude, this guy's a pain in the ass," basically. That I gave,
because the story came out the same day that Lurie spoke.
It did,
or the day after,
the morning after, right?
Yeah. But that story was
I didn't hear what he had to say. I didn't hear who said it.
Spike Eskin.
Okay, no, I didn't. I didn't hear it on the same.
And it was just he called it a conspiracy theory, but I thought it was interesting. Obviously, he's got no information, but it was just I thought it was an interesting take.
It was a fair line of thinking for sure.
It's not outlandish to think, well, but that's part of the story anyway, which is that he's uncoachable, he's got bad body language, and the players notice it, but nothing happens. Like that was in the story, that there's no repercussion, meaning the people in charge that can do something about it, they're unwilling to step in and do something about it. So I guess his point is, since they're not willing to do anything, someone had to let this story out to let them know that we know and we're not happy about it.
Well, and there is enough evidence, I think, to show that the Eagles owner, as good of an owner as he is, does need to be potentially swayed. I mean, John, you said something the other day on our show, maybe last week or a couple weeks ago. Howie Roseman woke up, to a 4 a.m. phone call about a long snapper. He sits next to him in the draft room, and Cooper DeJean, should we go to 39? We got to make sure we get Cooper. I'm not saying that's all a bad thing. I'm just saying when you have an owner that, has that type of interest in the team and in the roster and all those different elements, maybe you do have to go to certain lengths to convince him of things. That's not, I don't think that's, far off.
Yeah, it's possible, because you do, obviously, when you move on from a quarterback, that the owner's getting involved. I mean, that's head coach, coordinators, quarterback, even owners who aren't as involved as Jeffrey Lurie are going to get involved in those discussions. So, I mean, if you wanted to move on from Jalen Hurts, you would have to get Jeffrey Lurie's approval to do that. And maybe some lobbying needs to be done. I did think it was an interesting perspective, so I have to give him credit. But maybe some lobbying has to be done. I don't know, Mike.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, listen, they certainly are not the same two guys that I laughed on my show. I said, how many people know who their godparents are or have a relationship with them still? It seems like either your godparents almost supersede your grandparents you have such a good relationship with, or you don't even know who they are.
You don't even know who they are.
Right.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
So
I got three god kids. I hope that's not going to be the case with at least I hope it doesn't.
Well, there's some people take it seriously, and some people.
Like I said, some people
I take it seriously.
The godparent supersedes the grandparent almost in some instances. And in other cases, they're like, I don't know who my godparents are.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's true.
Yeah.
I know who my godmother is, and it's my mom's sister. I mean, I wouldn't say we have the closest relationship of all time. I don't know who my godfather is. I would imagine at some point in the future, AJ's kid is not going to know who his godparent is all that well.
Maybe.
All right, ended it. Well, we want TMZ, we want godparent. God, that reminds me of a horrible movie my wife loves, and I every time it comes on, I can't get to the remote quick enough. It's just about parents dying and godparents that hate each other having to take care of the kid. It's fucking awful.
Oh, it's
fucking depressing. Everything about it is awful. Sorry, you brought up some bad memories. At Mike Gill show, though. Yeah, Josh Duhamel. I forget the name of it, but horrible movie. Horrible movie. She just likes the way Josh Duhamel looks. I'm convinced. At Mike Gill show. Make sure you follow Mike on the X platform. Subscribe to his YouTube channel at Mike Gill show as well. 97.3 South Jersey Sports Bash 2 to 6. 97.5 on the weekends occasionally. I was just on there with Mike last weekend, right? Yeah. Happy Sunday. Easter for all those who maybe they got a little joy listening to us on Easter Sunday, Mike.
Possible. Quite possible. I hope so.
All right, Mike. Thank you, man. We appreciate it. Make sure you guys follow him at Mike Gill Show. Mike, thanks, brother. Later, man. There's Mike Gill joining us right here on Birds 365. Good stuff. Make sure you guys go and subscribe to his YouTube channel at Mike Gill Show. Follow him on all the platforms. Listen to his program on 97.3 ESPN down the shore, one of the very best in South Jersey. Appreciate Mike Gill doing it today. Johnny Mack all over the yard. Let's go to that story here in between. We're going to have Brandon Lee Goutton coming up a little bit. Apologize. We never talked about that that article that came out from Jeff McMullen. I didn't do the show on Friday, and then Monday, Tuesday, we were bogged down with some other conversations. But we just talked about it a little bit with Mike. Pretty damning, though, John, if some of that is true with what Jeff McMullen put in that article, and also wrote about, the Eagles' hesitancy on giving him another new contract.
Yeah, the contract stuff, I think, is the most, as it always is the most important thing. And they're not thinking about giving him an extension this offseason, which why would they? They don't have to. Now, it's also fair to point out if things were going well and they made another deep run and he was playing well, this would have been a time to extend him. So it's fair to point that out, but he didn't. And they're changing schemes and philosophies. At least that's the goal, the stated intended goal. So, why not wait and see how he handles it? But this is the crux. You have to work something out next offseason. Now he's still under contract, but he's not going to play with just $22 million in guarantees. So you have to use that as a placeholder and get the extension done next offseason. But I think it makes perfect sense to not extend him now. Like I said, why would you? You're because like I'm different than a lot of people, to say the least. But he's had 2 consecutive poor seasons from passing perspective. Not 1, 2.
I agree.
So why would you extend him? Other than if you're Jeffrey Lurie and you're in love with him.
Well, no, I mean, that's true. I mean, you're talking about a $60 million a year contract, that should be earned, obviously.
Yeah. So, I mean, and to me, even more so because you changed and you're moving to Sean Mannion. You have to see how he takes to this new offense before you're going to outlay $60 million. I would think that's how I would approach it.
100% agree. I think where people will push back, and I don't agree with them, but where I think people will push back is, differentiating here the past from the future, right, John? That's the hard part for a GM.
Yeah,
because many people will say, "Oh, Jalen, he's been to 2 Super Bowls. How are you going to not pay him?" But I think the hard part for Howie is saying that's in the past. What does the future project and look like? That's the challenge. And obviously you saw Saquon, who got a big contract after his big year, as a kind of a thank you. And maybe in hindsight, that wasn't the right move. So I do think that's probably the tough needle to thread for Howie Roseman with this contract.
Yeah, and he by no means, because the contract, again, technically he's under contract through 2028, and you have a bunch of void years after that. So, the easiest path for the Eagles is for this to work out, because you would have a significant dead money hit next year, even if you wanted to trade him, something like that. So the best case scenario for the Eagles is him playing well, getting back on track. They want to pay him $60 million and everything's copacetic. So that's what they're hoping for, because not only from the contract aspect of what's on the books and all the void years, but then even if that wasn't an issue, you got to find another quarterback, and that ain't easy in this league, to say the least. You see all these teams struggle to find quarterbacks, and doesn't look like this is the year to draft a quarterback in the first round, never mind day 2 or day 3. So where are you going to find this magic quarterback if you're moving on from Jalen Hurts? But right now, there's no need to pay him $60 million. And even Jeffrey Lurie's on board with that, because he said, he's under contract in the middle of his contract. It's like the other guys who signed that year. Now, the contracts aren't all the same, so it's not apples to apples. But the Lamar Jacksons, who else? I think Burrow signed that year. There were like 3 big quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts was the highest paid quarterback.
Lamar was right after. Lamar
was like 10 days after.
Yeah, right. 8,
but there were a couple others. I think Joe was one, and there might have been another. They're not getting extensions yet. It's not rare. So there's no need. Now, if they needed to restructure for cap purposes and to do other moves, then it would make more sense. But Howie's created enough room to not be concerned with that. So I don't think it's that big of a deal, other than it's an indication that he's got to play well this season, and they want to see him in the new offense.
Yep. We'll see what that looks like, Johnny Mac, if that comes to fruition. I do think that was an interesting report written by Jeff McMullen. He spoke about it on his podcast. I did catch some of that as well. Hey, Jeff, memo to you, Jeff. Don't get caught out at dinner or out in a hot tub with any of the people in the Eagles organization. It will smash your credibility. All right. Maybe the wrong word to use there, but I digress. All right, John, we will see what ends up happening with that. And now 15 days out from the NFL draft. John, I'll ask you, on the heels of that Jalen Hurts conversation there, anything you're hearing from your team sources, from the people that you talk to, about their thought process, their feeling about Tanner McKay? The only reason I ask is because I think I don't see what the option is here. I mean,
no, they like Tanner McKay. They've been very upfront about
but are you expecting him gone after his rookie contract? Because he's got 1 year left.
Yeah. The only question from the Eagles' perspective is, do you want the draft pick early or do you want the draft pick after you sign somewhere else, compensatory wise? So, because they'll manufacture it, so they'll get that pick. In theory, but it's interesting. He hasn't played, so the Eagles are very high on him. They've been consistently to the point where, when you trade for Andy Dalton, your first acknowledge is, oh, they're trying to trade Tanner McKee. And it was very quick. You get the feedback. And that's why I don't like jumping on right away, because I try to gather as much information as possible. Sometimes you can't get information that early. Sometimes you can. But, very quick with the realization that, no, Tanner's the backup. This is not about moving Tanner McKee, other than flexibility. It gives you flexibility if somebody offers something of pretty significance that you can do it, which you didn't have that flexibility before Andy Dalton. So that helps. But, if somebody wants to offer a second round pick, they'll move them. I don't think that's going to happen. And, they value the backup quarterback position. They don't want their season to be over if Jalen Hurts gets hurt. And they don't want their season to be over if both quarterbacks get hurt. And you can at least be serviceable with somebody like Andy Dalton. Now, you're not going to win the Super Bowl, but you're probably still going to be in contention for a playoff berth, and that's what they want. That's the goal. They don't want to give up on the season, which is admirable, and I think more teams should do that, to be honest. But with Tanner, it's more of, obviously they know he's going to leave for an opportunity. So do you want the insurance plot policy? Is that more important to you than trying to get a 12-month head start? And if he signs a big enough contract, that's a third-round compensatory pick, which you might.
Pretty good.
But you don't know. You really don't know.
How big would that contract have to be? Like a Malik Willis size?
Yeah, something like that. And you don't really know where with young quarterbacks who haven't played in a lot. It only takes one or two. Sometimes it only takes one. We'll offer some big money and bang, you got that pick, essentially. You got to wait for it, but you'll get it if you handle it the right way. So that's the discussion. And now they have the flexibility that if somebody doesn't want to deal with that, if somebody, and it could be desperation. That's what happened with different circumstance. Sam Bradford was obviously more established, but they got a big time pick for Sam Bradford because Teddy Bridgewater almost lost his leg, like right before the season started. And that created, I forget who their backup was. Sean Hill was their backup. So again, they didn't have a Tanner McKee. They didn't have an Andy Dalton. They were going into a season with Sean Hill as a starting quarterback, and they were desperate, and Howie took advantage of it. Now, you never wish that anybody has that kind of catastrophic injury, but it could happen. And if somebody gets desperate, you might get something pretty significant. And you have the flexibility to do something now.
John, let me ask you a general question about the offense, less focused on an individual player name like Tanner McKee. Does it look to you, just from an optics standpoint, that the Eagles are building the offense for a quarterback different than Jalen Hurts?
Yeah, yes. From what they say they're going to do, yes. It looks like they're building the offense. It looks like they're pounding a square peg in a round hole. But
so
ultimately,
ultimately,
I don't believe they're going to do that. I don't
either.
I think they'll try to do it in the offseason and say, look, we want. I think their goal is, number one, misunderstood. Number two, I think it's we need you to do the things you're uncomfortable with a little bit more So we're going to throw you into the deep end of the pool in the off season to get a little bit more comfortable with. I think that's what they're doing. And I think the goal that everybody misunderstands is that this is about the running game, not the passing game.
But isn't that itself an indictment on Hurts?
Well, it depends. Depends what your goal is. If your lone goal is high volume passing offense,
yeah, but you would think if the run game doesn't work, right, all right, or doesn't work to the level you want it to work to, that's where you rely on your franchise quarterback to bail you out, to make up the difference. That's not to say it's going to be perfect, but it doesn't even feel like the Eagles want to even try that. They don't even want to put that ball in Jalen Hurts.
Well, I don't know. I might be wrong. That might be the goal.
Well, I'm going on. You can go off last year's evidence, can't you?
I'm leaning on what happened in 2024, where they spoke similarly in the offseason and ended up scaling back. So I think the goal is to get him more comfortable with the things he's uncomfortable with. But yeah, I mean, it depends on how you look at it. If the lone goal is to improve the passing game, it's sink or swim, and he's probably going to sink.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's the lone goal. I don't think it's the main goal.
Let's go to some super chats here, Johnny Mac, before we get to Brandon Lee Goutton. Here is Brian Forverts Pumper has upgraded his name to
Forverts. All right.
He says this: a hug is one thing, but locking hands and hanging around the pool with an old friend, yeah, right. We don't approve of knuckleberry fins around Jacob, or cuckleberry fins, I guess he said.
By the way, my favorite part of the understated favorite part of the Sean Mannion hired was Jason Kelsey trolling Eagles fans when he put up the first film clip of the Green Bay offense to explain what Sean Mannion's going to do, and he showed a hitch route. I thought it was phenomenal. I thought it was tremendous trolling the Eagles fans. And like I said, Forverts, man, nobody uses Forverts more than Green Bay. Nobody. These fans are going to be upset quickly.
Well, there's situational spots though where it shouldn't be used. You can say that, right? There's situational differences where application makes more or less sense.
You've been bamboozled. Hitch routes and Forverts are staples of every NFL offense. Every single one of them. Every single.
Here's Steve Go Shoot. What's up, Steve? I keep hearing from Boston media reports is Patriots are getting A.J. Brown during the draft and won't officially be complete until June 1st. So Philadelphia doesn't suffer a cap penalty. I don't know.
Do that. You're not allowed to do that. You can't make a deal and say it's contingent on being June. The trade happens when the trade happens. Now, Howie, there was talks early in the process that Howie was trying to be creative and trying to do new things that would be against NFL rules, which tells you where this thing is going. But no, you're not allowed to do that.
All right, a couple more supers. Then we got BLG coming in. Brando Shreds. What's up, Brando? If the AJ smoke is true, but she's been turning up the temperature. AJ gave a list of 4 teams reportedly. So he doesn't hate Philly enough to go to 28 other teams. She's 100% been willing him to New England. Certainly does.
Well, I mean,
well, just to be clear, John, in October.
By the way, the report of the 4 teams came from Albert Breer.
Yeah, not from her. No, but I will say, I mean, again, I don't think anybody should be disputing that all the smoke is gone. I think it just, Diana is muddying it and
her own personal brand. But
well, she was on with a Patriots podcast in October saying New England should keep their eyes on AJ Brown and the Eagles. All the way through the season.
Because it was well known that AJ was unhappy long before even last season. Like even during the Super Bowl season.
Yeah, but if I remove Diana Rossini from the equation, okay, her credibility.
Nothing changes. Nothing changes. You move
You might
Diana
tie
from
him
the
less
equation,
to
nothing
the
changes.
Patriots. No,
What's that?
you would probably tie it less to the Patriots, though. The only other outside of Diana, the only other thing I've heard on the Patriots is the Albert Breer thing, who mentioned the 4 teams, and
I don't even know. And we got BLG, and maybe BLG remembers because he's closer to, like a lot of the national people get the same information, and it's like, all right, who gets the tweet up first or the post up first? I don't know who was first, other than Eagles fans are very hyper focused on Diana. I maybe she was first. I don't know. Maybe Brandon knows that.
Yeah, we'll get to BLG. Let me read one more super chat, and then we'll get to him. 2 more. Devin says, I'm late to the show, but I hope we touch on the Fly guys, get another win. Yeah, good win. We're playing well right now.
We did.
Devin. And then Worst Behavior says, do you think this impacts the Patriots' appetite to make the trade because of potential backlash of contributing to their cough reputation?
That's interesting. I didn't think about that. I don't think so, but let me mull that one over a little bit.
Yeah, fair enough. All right, let's go to Brandon Lee Goutton. BLG set to join us right now here on Birds 365. You can follow him on X at Brandon Goutton. Read all his work at bleedinggreennation.com. Make an account over there. Contribute to the conversation with Eagles fans and BLJ. BLJ, a Wednesday morning, my friend, 15 days out from the NFL draft. I didn't think our conversation would start here.
Welcome to TMZ Live, BLG.
Yeah.
Welcome. So you heard us talking there. It's not professional. What seems to be going on, I think we can all agree with that. Does this impact anything from your perspective on the AJ Brown news and its reality? It's, I mean, it's not just Diana.
Mm-hmm.
Anything affected from this?
No, not at all. I think people wanted to, because I don't think people want AJ gone. I think people are kind of wish casting here as of this, like, oh, this explains everything. And actually AJ wants to stay. I mean, I don't think Joe Santoliquito, who reported on Bleeding Green Nation this offseason that AJ asked for a trade multiple times as early as after week 3 last year. I don't think he's been hanging out in a pool with Mike Vrabel. I'll have to ask Joe about that, but I don't think he has been. So no, this does not change the reality at all to me. It's certainly like a layer, I guess, in the dynamic, at least in terms of, fans following it and everything. I'm not saying it's, it's not nothing.
Diana has been a big name, hasn't she? I'm sure you've seen it in your comments on Bleeding Green Nation. I get it all the time, and JAKIB. She's been one of the big names that's kind of been permeating these rumors, specifically when it comes to the New England Patriots, I would say. Now, does that mean AJ doesn't want out? No, I don't think so. But does it muddy that? I think it maybe does.
I don't see.
And like Albert Breer too, talking about the 4 teams he wanted to go to, right? Like the AJ's camp. I don't think.
I don't know if Jimmy Sexton's out in Indianapolis, taking people's temperatures because of Diana Rossini.
And if the Eagles didn't really want to trade AJ, they could have said that multiple times this offseason.
Yeah.
They could have shut it down. They're like, it's not like Diana Rossini's like keeping it alive, and the Eagles are like have to fall to that whim. They don't have to do that. If they actually, if it was all made up, Diana was making it all up and like trying to drive AJ to the Patriots, the Eagles could be like, and would be like, no, we're not doing that. But they haven't. Yeah. The owner last week said, we'll see what happens when asked about if he's going to be on the team this year.
Yeah, and Howie broke out his Marshawn Lynch defense. AJ Brown's a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. What the hell's that? I mean, they got much. And Diana might have been first, might not have been first. Like, again, I don't recall. But there's been tons of reporting since then, including the GM of the Los Angeles Rams coming out and saying, oh, yeah, we talked about a trade.
Right.
And even gave you some parts of the potential trade. I don't get it. I don't get it, other than, what is the term you use? Wish casting. I might steal that from you. Other than, people wishing I want AJ here, and Diana made it all up. It's just not true. I get frustrated when people just like, okay, she did something, maybe allegedly did something unprofessional, but that doesn't change all the other reporting. Just doesn't.
I agree.
BLJ, 15 days out from the NFL draft, has all this AJ conversation, maybe changed or altered the way you see the draft? I mean, maybe they go receiver in the round one. What are you thinking as we are 15 days out, my friend, from that NFL draft?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to attack it. It feels like at some point. I don't think it has to be round one. I thought the note from Peter Schrager was interesting yesterday for his ESPN mock draft. Had highlighted the fact that Jed Fish, former Howie Roseman roommate in Florida, is the coach at Washington, and I kind of I guess forgot about that, and so maybe that's an extra reason to think maybe the Denzel Boston thing could happen. So I definitely think wide receiver has to be in play early if they're not going to sign someone else, because I mean, if AJ's gone, which I think he's going to be gone, you have Devontae. I don't think Hollywood Brown being your number 2 wide receiver is a very good outcome. And it begs the question, who's the 3 behind him? So it feels like they have to attack that position at least by the end of day 2.
What do you think of Boston?
Do you think that would change what they did with AJ? Real quick, sorry, John. Just like, I don't think that means guaranteed that AJ would be traded, right? Like, I still think they would want what they want for AJ Brown, even if they spend a first or a second round pick on a receiver. Do you agree with that, or do you think if they did that, AJ's as good as gone?
What's the question?
Like, if they draft a receiver in the round 1 or round 2, to me, that doesn't mean to me that they're guaranteed still going to trade AJ Brown this summer if they don't get what they want in that trade. I.e., look at the Tampa Bay Bucks, right, who drafted Emeka Egbuka last year. They were positioned better once Mike Evans left, but he did start the year as receiver 3. I think the Eagles would position themselves better for life after AJ, but to me, it wouldn't guarantee that AJ would be gone if they didn't get what they wanted in the trade.
I think in like a normal situation where the factors that are driving the AJ trade, like I think like it doesn't mean you have to trade him because of that alone, because you draft the receiver alone. Like I think you could have those players on the roster. But I don't think AJ is going to be here for a lot of other reasons that don't have to do with
that. With Boston specifically, because I do think, for those who follow mock drafts, I think Peter Schrager's a good one to follow because he's especially for the Eagles because he's close to Howie. But I look at Denzel Boston. I get to because he's almost 6'4". He's about 215. I get the feeling that you're trying to replace AJ Brown if you're making that decision. And then I'm just looking at Sports Info Solutions because I like their website. I like Matt Manicherian. I think they do a good job. So I'm looking at their scouting report and I see contested catch winner, strong hands, and part of the strengths, part of the weaknesses, explosiveness, consistent separation. For people that watch this show, I'm not a big contested catch, but like I want receivers that create separation. I don't know how far you've gotten into it and how much you know about Boston, but I look at what Tennessee did when they traded AJ to the Eagles. They tried to replace him with Treylon Burks. Like, I don't like that mentality of, all right, let's go get his replacement. And this guy's big. And just your thoughts on maybe the theme, even if you haven't looked at Boston that much.
Yeah, I think there were people at the time, not necessarily everyone, but there were people who were like, oh, wow, look how smart the Titans are. They don't have to pay A.J. Brown. Now they got the new A.J. Brown.
Yeah.
And the new A.J. Brown didn't, play so well for the Titans, at least. I look at Boston's production or really lack thereof here. That kind of looks like a little dicey to me in the first round. You're talking about 834 yards, 2024, 881 last year. Like, I kind of want to see a little bit more of a dominant production here. From a wide receiver where the Eagles are going to be picking there. So I don't feel great about it personally.
Go
And I
get Chris
agree.
Bell in the second round if you
I
want
like Chris Bell.
size
Yeah.
and like, because he's coming off the ACL, so there's some injury concerns. But I think he might have more talent anyway, and he'd probably be a first round pick, and maybe you can get him in. And he's from Yazoo City, which always works for the Eagles. I that's how I am with the receivers in this draft. I'm like, it's a deep receiver draft, but I think the second rounders are almost as good as the first rounders, at least when you get past, the top guys. So if you get past Tate, who I think is really good, but you're not going to be able to get him, and maybe Tyson, then I'm like, you can get good receivers in the second round, and I kind of go about it that way. Now it's always about if you like a particular player. But when you're that deep, similar to tight end as well, like you might be able to get a tight end who can help you on day 3. Just that philosophy of not making the dive early and maybe going for more value in the second round. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, you can't force it. They forced it clearly with Jalen Reagor back in the day. And I don't think they're looking to force it. I don't think they feel like they have to get a receiver at 23 or in the first round just because of the AJ situation. I still think, offensive tackle is if they have their druthers, that would be the kind of the situation for them. Edge rusher, could be in play in terms of the board. But again, I feel like you have to do it at some point, and probably before day 3, because at day 3, you're kind of just throwing darts there.
I've seen a lot of hype for Max INA core. I only slightly butchered it. Boy, he scares me too. I don't know. I'm scared about this draft. I better get a dog. I have a dog, but Tank, shout out to Tank.
Shout out to Tank.
Birds 365. But I don't know. He looks awful raw to me. Very athletic, huge upside. Kind of looks like a boomer bust guy. I know I asked you last week. You still got time. Have you honed in on one of these tackles that you like better than maybe others?
Not really. Not yet. Not to the point where and also kind of getting a sense of like where these guys are going to go. It's kind of over the map a little bit. There's some people that are like, Spencer Fano is like not going to be there at all. I've seen him go in like top 5, top 10, and then there's other people who's like he will fall to the Eagles. So
yeah, it's weird.
It doesn't feel like there's a consensus.
Well, he's got short arms. That's why he's falling. The dreaded short arms.
And then Monroe Freeling was like down at the bottom of the first round. Now he's top 10.
Yeah, so it is, but there's going to be a ton of tackles. But, the Eagles aren't going to like all of them. So they'll probably hone in on a couple. And they, another curveball is obviously, I don't think there was an assistant coach who had more impact than Jeff Stoutland when it came to the draft with the Eagles. Even Vic. I think Stout, you hear Howie talk about the critical factors that Stoutland would always say about offensive linemen. And for years, the Eagles have been drafting with that in mind. This is what Stout believes. This is what's that. And now they've gone away from what Stout believes. And I just can't figure out what that means for the draft. In theory, you would need more athletic people. Or is Howie just draft like he drafts? Does he take into account, hey, this is Chris Cooper, not Jeff Stoutland? How do you think he handles that?
I have a hard time believing he goes away from what's worked for them so well. Even if, you're talking about a different scheme, I just feel like basically what Howie has learned from Jeff Stoutland, I still think like that applies in terms of how he's going to weigh those critical factors like you just talked about. And I don't think that goes away just because Stout's not here anymore, which, by the way, it's very funny to me that people were like, oh, he's going to be back. The Eagles were like, oh, we hope he has a role on the team, like back when it happened. And even Lane Johnson saying that on the podcast not too long ago. And that's just like very clearly not the case. It's not going to be the case from basically you heard from him himself on Nick Foles podcast. And then, Nick at the owners meetings as well. So Yeah, I still think Howie has that
by the
knowledge
way, BLG, Lane is not going to win WIP's Insider of the Year next year. I mean, he
No.
sent Eagles fans off thinking they were getting Max Crosby. He said, Jeff's going to be back. Come on, Lane. You're
for 2.
Yeah. But Lane has sent, hopefully, hey, with Lane Johnson, hopefully he just plays 17 games. And I think the Eagles
exactly right. I think that's all we want, John.
Yeah. But he's not going to win Insider of the Year.
He might be 1 for 3 if you include announcing his return. So there you go.
There you go. You got that one right. He had a good source on that one. Very good source. So we're glad you're back, though, Lane.
BLG, talk to me a little bit about Jalen Hurts. Jeff McClain had that report that came out this week about the last year, the contract, potentially not wanting to give him a new contract yet. And then also the report, which I thought was, potentially damning, is they feel that the best way to get through to Jalen Hurts is by 5,000 word ESPN articles. I mean, I don't know, just kind of your thought process on what we've heard and what's been reported about Jalen Hurts, the contract situation, the owner, his comments, and everything and the like this summer.
Yeah, I mean, again, just like the AJ situation, you can't just bury your head in the sand and be like, it's all made up. In part because I think a lot of that sourcing is coming from the building, and there's motivation, I think, from some within that building to make sure he plays a different way. And it's not just the same story we've seen the past few years here. And I know that can be weird because it's like, well, why not? Because they've had such a high level of success. And that's true, inarguably. At the same time, we all know that the year they won the Super Bowl, the passing game was not good. And a lot of people were frustrated with it. Not even just like AJ and people within the team, but fans were too. That was a big topic of conversation as well.
Hey, Jalen Hurts was at times. He would say
absolutely
the same thing. Yeah,
it wasn't a foregone conclusion. Like we can say now, like obviously it looks that way in hindsight, and they did it. But like, it wasn't a foregone conclusion. They were going to win the Super Bowl that season, and the concern was what happens if the passing game is not good enough. Ultimately, Jalen came through in the biggest moments, and he gets all the credit in the world for that. It's the point of the game, but it doesn't mean moving forward that's exactly going to happen the same way, because they're not going to have maybe the same kind of defense to rely on like they did that year. They're not necessarily going to have the same running game that Saquon had in an all-time, I think literally the best running back season ever, in terms of he had the most yards gained by any running back ever in a season, including the playoffs. So the passing game is going to have to make up for some of that. And I don't think Jalen Hurts, I don't think you can just say that. And I don't think this is what the story was saying. It was not a hit piece. It was not saying he's a lost cause, abandon all hope. That's not what was being said. I think it's more of the premise is that he's at a crossroads. And I agree. Like he needs to have a big year this year or a good year. If he has another year, I think like last year, this season, like I don't know if that's good enough for what the Eagles want to be moving forward.
Well, my thought after reading Jeff's piece was, do you even want to salvage a relationship that you need to rely on communicating through 5,000 word ESPN stories? Is that even a relationship you want to salvage? And, Spike Eskin, of all people, I'll give him credit, and only because I didn't think of it. And, he threw out a conspiracy theory that maybe they're trying to lobby the one guy in that building who was 1,000% around behind Jalen Hurts, Jeffrey Lurie. I thought it was an interesting take because of what Jeffrey said and was so effusive at the owners' meetings. And, not to say we're going to move on, but to say, look, if it continues this way, we're going to have to move on at some point, and you need to lobby the most important guy in the building. What do you think of that theory?
Yeah, I think what's important about that theory is the idea that not everyone is pulling in the same direction. Just because, like, it's not like as simple as the Eagles feel a certain way, because that's not, that's a monolith. Like
there's individuals,
which doesn't exist, by the way. It never exists. That's a great point, BLG.
Yeah. There's a lot of different people and pulling in different directions, in part because there's different incentives. Just for example, I think Sirianni's job is to win now. Like he might not want to play younger players because his job is to win every single, the game like this week. And Howie Roseman should not be thinking the same way. He's thinking about, this week, but also 2-3 years down the road. Like there's different interests here, different thoughts, different opinions. And I think that's absolutely fair to say the owner, and obviously that opinion matters most too, what he thinks. But I don't think that means it can't change. And because Jeffrey Lurie liked Carson Wentz a lot, and guess what? Carson Wentz got traded, and he was gone not too long after signing a contract extension. So I think things can change fast, but right now I think Jalen is in a good spot going into this year, and it's all about what he does this season. And I think that's going to inform a lot about the next few years of what his career looks like here, if it's here. So it's a big season.
Who do you think the Eagles have more confidence in long term, Jalen Hurts or Nick Sirianni?
That's a good question. I think, again, you're saying the Eagles. That's who does that mean? Who is that within the Eagles?
A good, BLG,
well, the guys
I don't know how to
matter.
answer your follow up. Is that Jeffrey Lurie? Is it
Jeffrey and Howie? The guys that matter. Howie loves Nick, by the way. I'll throw that in. Howie loves.
he should.
Right, I think Howie loves Nick, and I think Lurie loves Jalen.
But I don't think Lurie necessarily dislikes Nick. But I think ultimately, coach is always more expendable, so that's how I look at it. But I think they like how Nick fits into what they want to be in terms of Jeffrey Lurie. Didn't like where he was with Chip Kelly by the end of that Chip's tenure, especially, and he felt like he had to take his own team back from Chip. So having a coach like Nick, allows Lurie to be really involved and heavy-handed with the decision making, and same kind of thing for Howie. So I think they kind of prefer, a coach like Nick, and who they know they can work with, who they know they can win with at a high level. So I think they would actually say Nick, even though I would argue that Jalen deserves more of the credit.
I'm with you though, BLG. It's easier to move on from a coach than a quarterback.
Yep.
It's simple as that. So I think ultimately Jalen Hurts is on firmer ground, even though it's not as firm as it once was, which leads me to the biggest part of it all, and that's the contract. And that was another part of Jeff's piece is they're not actively looking at an extension. And this is the final year of his fully guaranteed money. So next year it's just $22 million. So that raises some eyebrows. Now, even Jeffrey said, look, he's in the middle of a contract. They don't need to do it. I don't think it makes sense to do it either when you're coming off. Yep. And as you pointed out, BLG, it's not one poor passing, it's two. And you could argue even more. And you have a new offense and a new coordinator and a new system. Why not wait? And if everything goes well, you just pay him his $60 million next offseason. And if things don't go well, you got to start thinking about the next chapter, I would imagine. So I'm of the belief the contract thing isn't that big of a deal. Do you think it's a bigger deal than I do?
I think it's a little surprising that they haven't touched it since the Super Bowl win, just because how good he was in that game. And I think we've seen quarterbacks re-up or even get kind of tweaks to the contract, but not to the extent where it's egregious or they've had to get something done by now and they didn't. No, and I get why people are why are you even talking about that? Because he signed for multiple more seasons, and that's a little silly when you say he signed for 3 more seasons, because he's not. I mean, effectively, he's not going to play.
Yeah.
He's
not going to play next. It's not going to play in 2027.
Yeah, and certainly not 2028, where there's zero guaranteed.
No,
this is not going to happen. And also, that's a lot of quarterbacks will probably have lapped him at that point and where he ranks. So that's not happening. It's really this year and next year in terms of what's firmly in place. So. But yeah, I don't think it's they've had to touch it. But I think if, let's say, if he was crushing it right now and he was, in a spot where they felt like really more confident about the passing game and how he was looking in that, they might have paid him another contract by now. So
I agree with that. If he played well, yeah, they would have, but they haven't needed to. And that's the second part. He was able to create enough space to get the flexibility. Like a lot of times you do redo quarterback contracts because that's where you get money under the cap by restructuring those big money deals. And I haven't needed to do that. Mm-hmm. So, and I mentioned Lamar got signed that year, and I think Joe Burrow, and I think there was another one. And none of them have gotten their contracts restructured yet either. So, and they're all different. It's not a fair apples to apples comparison, but nobody who signed the time he signed has gotten a rework deal. So I don't know. I don't think it's as, other than what you say, if he was killing it, they probably would have already, because they like to get in front of things, but he hasn't. So I think it's prudent to wait and see how he handles Sean Mannion and how things go. And if it goes well, they'll happily give him $60 million and say, all right, and this will be a blip on the radar. Just my opinion, but at Brandon Goutton, make sure you follow BLG on the X platform, Bleeding Green Nation. As we ramp up, boy, we're getting close to the NFL draft. I don't know why, because there's always, I guess, the soap operas. BLG. This one's sneaking up on me, and they won the Super Bowl the year before. It's a little bit earlier too. I don't know where you are with the draft, with the visit tracker. We got a couple new visits yesterday. When I did it, and I did it yesterday, I was only at 13, which you only have one more week. So there's clearly some guys we've missed. I don't know how many you're at, but I tend to look at themes, shitload of offensive tackles, receivers. One guy, though, I want to bring up because I think he's the best offensive lineman in the draft, and that's the kid from Penn State, Vega Owanani, and the Eagles brought him in early in the process. Look, I get it. He's a guard. You typically don't draft guards at high in the first round. I don't even think he's going to be there at 23. Yep. But would it be the worst thing in the world if they drafted that kid? Because he can get on the field. He can beat out Tyler Steen right away. And it's tremendous insurance for Landon Dickerson if he's not back, or that's something the Eagles wouldn't typically do. But if he's the best player, man, why not pull the trigger?
Yeah, I don't think it's like their plan A at 23, but it could be, again, depending on how the board shakes out. If he fell there, that could be a situation where it's like makes too much sense not to do at this point. And I think it's more than about the Tyler Steen thing. It's truly about the Landon Dickerson long-term outlook. And look, back when they drafted Landon, they didn't have a spot for him like instantly in the starting lineup. That was not a clear path to him for playing time. Brandon Brooks got hurt and then obviously, couldn't play anymore after that really in his career, which is unfortunate because he was a great player. But that's the point. It's like you take someone like that and you figure it out later. And it's a good problem to have. If the worst case scenario is like he's a really good backup player for you, then they'll live with that, because in the scenario that it's the worst case scenario and you lose a starter, then they'd rather have someone who can be step in at a very high level. So I think that's on the table.
No doubt. BLJ, good stuff today, man. We appreciate you doing it. As always, make sure you guys follow him at Brandon Goutton and read all his work at Bleeding Green Nation, one of the very best Eagle websites out there.
Is that a Flyers shirt, BLG?
It is.
Are y'all flyered up?
Flyers hoodie.
All right.
Fired up.
Yeah, flyered up. Playoffs almost.
Yep. Absolutely.
All right. Yeah, Flyers get some love.
Good. They should. They got to get a goaltender. I've been saying that for 25 years.
That guy's playing pretty well.
Yeah, he's playing well. Well, let's see how long it lasts. We'll see. Yep. All right, BLJ, good stuff, man. I appreciate it. We will talk to you again soon. All right, man. Thank you.
See you guys. Sounds good.
Thanks, man. BLJ joining us right here on Birds 365. Good stuff, Johnny Mac. Interesting show today with obviously everything that's
TMZ Live.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do? You got to talk about it. I don't want to. Again, I don't want to gossip, but I do think it's real and it's something.
I knew. Yeah, you have to. I'm not saying we got to talk about it, unfortunately. But you know, adults make bad decisions all the time. But from an Eagles standpoint, as BLG, I'm already stealing his word. Wish casting, that I'm talking to those people specifically, and I don't think there's a lot of them, but there's a lot of information that came from people not named Diana Rossini. So those wish casting that she's making shit up, I don't know what to tell those people. It's not true.
I think she's making shit up, but I do think she's slashed her ability.
I don't think she's making shit up. I think she's getting shit in unethical ways. I don't think she's making anything up.
Yeah.
But that's not making stuff up. That's
no, but is there also some element to that, John, where you are slanted in one way, which reporters, John, whether, and I know you know this, but reporters have the ability to change the public perception and the narrative.
Yeah, well, I don't know her well enough to. I could tell. I've heard her talk about her husband in the past because her husband's a big Eagles fan, and she's pointed out that look, as they had a kid which is the larger aspect of people potentially derailing their personal lives. It pointed out that look, we can't be the household that's going to be dependent on the mood is going to be whether the Philadelphia Eagles win or lose. That's childish, and I've heard her say that specifically. So I think that's how she covers the NFL. I think that's how a lot of us cover the NFL. We're dispassionate to any result. Like I always root for good stories over results.
I'll tell you what will change the mood of her household: sitting in a hot tub with an NFL coach.
Well, I agree, but that's not my point. My point is how she covers the NFL. I don't think she's a Patriots fan. She's rooting for the Patriots. And again, she has no power to help the Patriots in this instance. What this story is about from a journalistic perspective and what's wrong, if it's true, again, these are all allegations.
Forget if it's true, though. I don't even care if it's true. I'm talking about what it looks like is a slash in her tires for the credibility of her as a journalist.
Yeah, but that again, that's true. That's her personal issue to deal with now.
I agree.
That if you're asking me, does that impact the truthfulness of her news? Well, I've gotten the same news from other avenues, and I'm not in a hot tub with Mike Vrabel. So is Albert Breer, and so is Adam Schefter, and so is a dozen other reporters, both locally and nationally. So again, when it comes to these national, as Mike Sealski calls them, and I give him credit, information brokers, when it comes to these information brokers, who gets it first is important for their lives and their careers and their big money. But it's not important to the guts of the story. That's, they hand it to them first, and then the rest of us, like pilot fish around the shark, got to do the digging from there. But we do it, and it's true, and it has been true.
Is it fair for me to say, I will listen to all of it. I will take anything Diana says about the situation, and I will throw it in the garbage can, and it will no longer be of any impact to me.
Well, you can do whatever you want. Anybody can do whatever they want.
I'm saying from a journalistic standpoint, is that fair?
Her information's not wrong, is all I could say. How she got it. I said the same thing about Glazer. His information is impeccable.
Right.
How he gets it
is not what everybody would do.
Yeah. So, but that's up to you as an individual. It's up to any individual. But their information is rock solid. Now, it's a slippery slope. Like quid pro quo, slip or slip. So if you want to put her off to the side and ignore her, put her off to the side and ignore her. Her reputation is her business, and she harmed her reputation. And that's up to each individual. But I can tell you the information is checked out at every step of the way. And fucking Les Snead can tell you that. You don't even need me.
Yeah, but I mean, at the same time, that's also easy to dispute, just in the sense of Howie admits all the time he takes calls on everybody. Les Snead said they had a conversation for a couple of minutes and it was done after that. They haven't talked since, because what you said, Howie's not trading AJ to the NFC,
Yeah. Well, and which I've been pretty steadfast on.
Yes,
but he also pointed out that Devontae Adams might have been going to Philadelphia, and they handle things a lot differently in Los Angeles.
Yeah, they're much more
open. And they explain that, look, after it doesn't work out, then we got to go to the player and embrace him and bring him back into the fold and say, it's part of the business, but we love you, yada yada yada. He was much more in depth than the 3-minute phone call about what was going on. But, and then again, there's so much other stuff. There's the Jimmy Sexton stuff in Indianapolis. I talked to 3 different people in Indianapolis. I mean, the shit was going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That has nothing to do with Diana. So, blame the messenger. Yeah. We're used to it. But her reputation's going to take a hit, and it's up to the New York Times and what they want to do.
Yeah, and there will be ramifications as well for other people in the industry that they will have to deal with now. So shame on her for that, but she can deal with the fallout, the reputational fallout. That's on her to deal with. Johnny Mac, no doubt about it. Good show today. Good conversation. Not what I expected to be talking about today, but I saw a break last night, and I'm like, let me prep.
You're to send this show to Harvey Levin. See if TMZ we can be replacement host on TMZ.
Yeah, well, it is what it is. All right, John, your final thought here on a Wednesday edition of Birds 365.
Yeah. At some point we'll get more to the draft, I guess. There's always something happens every day that keeps
we've done
from the draft.
Decent on the draft, I think.
Yeah, we got some draft in there. Yeah. We got some. Tomorrow we're going to have Devin Jackson, so we'll get heavy in the draft tomorrow.
Yeah, I got to reach back out to Rick too. He never answered me. I'll try and get Rick today. See if he'll come on Thursday or Friday. So that'll be good. All right, Johnny Mac, good show, man. I will catch up with you tomorrow. All right, brother.
All right, sounds good. See y'all.
All right, thanks, Jim Mac. There's Johnny Mac, John McMullen, host of Birds 365. Follow him on X at JF McMullen. Appreciate him doing it today. All right, a lot of conversation we will have here on Zander Time today. I certainly respect and understand John's perspective on all of the things that happened with Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel. I am not a reporter. I am not a colleague. I don't know Diana Rossini from a can of paint. And I don't really give a rat's ass about her, so I have a different opinion of it. I will share some of that with you today. We did talk about it on the show, and we will do more of that today. I'll also take some comments from the great people of JAKIB Nation, because I do think this is one where I am interested in what people have to say. All right, what especially what you guys have to say today. So first things first, I will just say something from the personal standpoint here, and I don't want to turn this into gossip hour. At the end of the day, adults are adults, and adults are going to be adults, and they're responsible for their own decisions, their own actions, and all of those different things. And quite frankly, I don't give a rat's ass. But there's a standard in which I live my life, and I've said this for a long time. I have a business, okay? I have clients. I have people I work with. I have contractors. I have employees. I have sponsors. I have colleagues. I have all different things. Can I tell you what I would never do? Ever. I would never do business, do a deal, do a contract. I wouldn't even want to have a conversation with somebody in business that cheats on their spouse. And there are people out there who think, oh, yeah, God, yeah, whatever, it's cool. Grow the fuck up. And 2, if somebody will cheat on their spouse or their family what the fuck do you think they'll do to you? What will they do to you? They're not even loyal to the things that are important in their own life. Now you're going to sign a contract with them? Now you're going to do business with them? No, thank you. No, thank you. No interest. I don't care how good the deal is. I don't care how much money you want to offer. I'm uninterested. I don't want to do it. So with that being said, again, adults are going to adult. She can do whatever the hell she wants to do. I think she's a scumbag. And even if they didn't do anything more than what is evidenced or shown on the pictures, I mean, really? How many people are here are married? I'm getting married in 2 months. And if you think I'd ever step in a hot tub with some woman that's not my wife and expect that to be seen as normal, you're outside your mind. And I'm sure many of you feel the same way about your spouse. You got a wife, you got a husband, whatever the case may be. She has destroyed her credibility far more than John insinuated. I understand where John's coming from. Oh, this doesn't mean all the AJ smoke isn't there. I get that. That's fine. I'm not even talking about AJ Brown. Anything Diana Rossini says, it's not even going to register to me. I don't care. Take her reporting, everything she's talked about, and throw it in the trash can. Now, I'll listen to Les Snead. I'll listen to Jeff McClain. I'll listen to John McMullen. I'll listen to all these people. Diana Rossini, John's been using the phrase, throw the baby out with the bathwater. Throw that reporting, take everything she's ever said, and throw it in the trash can. I want nothing to do with it. I don't give a rat's ass about it. And to me, it's poop water. You have a cup of water, right? You got a cup of coffee. Somebody takes just one little drop of toilet water and puts it in your coffee. You still going to drink it? And again, I understand people who say there are people judge and don't judge, people throw stones from a glass house. I understand all those things. And I'm not here to tell you I'm perfect or that I'm above anybody. I don't believe that. I truly don't believe that. But at the end of the day, religion out of it, all those things out of it, is there not an objective moral decency, right and wrong, good and evil, dark and light that exist in the world, that exist with common sense? I saw somebody in the chat saying, it's all the religious people. Religion has nothing to do with it. You don't have to be religious to understand that there is an objective truth about right and wrong, moral decency. I think Mike Vrabel's a scumbag, and I think Diana Rossini's a scumbag. And I don't know what they did. I'm not going to speculate. But dancing on a rooftop, holding hands in a hot tub, getting all cozy. Diana, either do your fucking job or go to another line of work. Twiz says morality comes from, well, Twiz, even if it comes from religion, if you take religion out of it, is my point, Twiz. If you take religion out of it, is there an objective right and wrong in the world, Twiz? Truth. In the pursuit of truth, Twiz, religion aside, is there an objective way to view something that's morally right and morally wrong? Yes or no? You're not wrong that morality in itself comes from religion. Yes, I agree with that. I'm a religious man. I understand that. But for those who are not, in the pursuit of truth, that's fair. It's personal preference. I like to believe that, there is a human decency that exists, that we are born, with the ability to distinguish what's inherently right and inherently wrong, whether you deem yourself a religious person or not. And by the way, just because you're a religious person doesn't mean that you're a good arbiter of that either, which I think is fair as well. For example, it doesn't take a religious man to know that stealing, that murder is wrong. It doesn't take a religious person to know that adultery is wrong. At least it shouldn't to me. At least it shouldn't to me. Diana Rossini can get lost. In fact, if we never mention her name on this program again, I think that would be completely fair. Never mention her name again. And again, I'll say, in business, you see somebody that cheats on their spouse, you go, oh, yeah, what a badass. That guy gets bitches. Yeah, wow, how cool he is. Woo! What will that person do to you? You're dirt on the bottom of their shoe. Their own family is dirt on the bottom of their shoe. Diana Rossini is a bedbug. Diana Rossini, zero credibility. I have zero interest in anything she has to say. I'll take some comments from the great people of JAKIB. Oh, yeah, Preston, let me mention this as well. Real quick, one more thing on this, not to pile on, but I'm going to pile on because, look, I'm a talk show host on, in the sports world, and this has come out. This is not the first time this has happened with Diana Rossini. Now, some of you may not know that. Diana Rossini, one, covered the Titans when Mike Vrabel was with the Titans. Okay. Second, the former general manager of the Washington Redskins at the time, his wife publicly stated that Diana Rossini was getting information on the Washington Redskins from her husband because she was his side piece. Again, I don't know if it's true. I don't know. I'm not saying it is. I'm not accusing. All I'm doing is giving you the information that's out there. If you want to go and research it, you can go and research it yourself. There's not a stitch about that lady that is credible. Not as much as a smithereens. And this is a win for Dabney. A lot of you guys see Dabney's always going at people in the chat. Dabney's been right about this. Doesn't mean all the A.J. Brown stuff is going away. Doesn't mean that. I agree with John on that. Dabney said months ago, Diana Rossini cannot be trusted. Dabney was correct in that regard, without a doubt. I have zero respect for that. I have zero respect for Diana Rossini. And you know what? To be frank, I have zero respect for Mike Vrabel too. Now, he's not going to get the type of backlash that I'm sure she will. And whatever, you can have your opinion on that. It's standard. I don't really give a shit. I don't really care what it is. But I have no respect for him as a man either. Again, if he'll do that to his own family, what will he do to you? This is why I always say, I don't give a rat's ass about nice guys or nice people. Oh, I'm nice to you, to your family. What does that mean? If Mike Vrabel, oh, he's the players coach, right? He loves all his players. Yeah, woo, yeah. Players coach, yeah. Hug you, the player, yeah. I love you guys. I'm in your corner. That's being nice. That's the act. The act only matters when it comes with the real stuff. If I were one of his players, I wouldn't trust that dude. I wouldn't trust that dude. Alfredo says, Howie sucks at drafting wide receivers besides Smitty, by the way. So no, you're not wrong about that. Who's a wide receiver Howie Roseman has drafted outside of Devontae Smith that's been successful? I don't think there is one. I don't think there is one. Here's Power Ranger. What's up, Power Ranger? Sorry, I forgot to read these to John. Power Ranger says, best conspiracy theory is this. Jalen Hurts is the source of the leak. He plays better when there was a fire under him, so he dissed himself for motivation. Well, I don't think that's likely, but I do think Jalen does play better when there is a lot of stuff out there. Some take that as a good thing. Some take that as a bad thing. I don't think it's great that if the Eagles feel the way they communicate to Jalen is via press, if that's true. I'm not buying your conspiracy, though. I just hope Jalen Hurts plays better because that means the Eagles are going to be better. And if the Eagles are better, that means as fans, we're all happier. That's it. That's all it is. I don't think it's love or hate for Jalen Hurts. I just want him to play better so the team plays better, so the team has better success. That's it. Simple. Here's Sauce It Up. It's amazing how stats get you paid, but wins don't. So if Jalen gets 4K yards and 30 touchdowns but don't win the bowl, he'll get paid? Yes, Sauce It Up. Sauce It Up. It's a team game made up of individuals. Here is the Phillies ace. What's up, brother? Thank you for the super chat, man. I love it. Zander is fired up and keeps 100. Much respect to you, brother. That's why you have to take things people say with a grain of salt because things that go down behind the scenes. It's true, man. It's true. It's a good lesson in terms of, like you say, take things with a grain of salt, Nothing is impossible. Nothing is can be rolled out completely. Phillies ace, thanks for the super, brother. I appreciate it, man. He says this again, follows up. It makes you and Sills that are good for this business look really bad, which sucks because you have ethics many people don't. Yeah, you know what? I don't give a rat's ass about the approval of any of you or any other human. That's just the stone cold truth. Approval from you, and I appreciate it, but approval from you does nothing for me. Got to please God. That's it. That's it. And if you're not a religious person, you got to please whatever it is that is your God. Everybody has a God, whether they want to admit it or not. For some people, it's themselves. For other people, it's their work. For some people, it's being a scumbag and cheating on their spouse. Whatever your God is. Maybe it's money. Maybe it's materials. Whatever it might be. Everybody's got one. For Twiz, it's olives at the snack bar. Fine example. So, all right. Yeah, I thought all this crap was not a good look, obviously, as I've said. But again, back to the Eagles' perspective of it. Take that cup of water and throw it out. I have no interest in Diana Rossini, and I will chronicle for you guys. On October 17th of last year, Diana Rossini went on a podcast, a Patriots podcast hosted by a Patriots insider, and told Patriots fans to keep their eye on A.J. Brown. This was 6 months ago when the Eagles were denying they had any desire to trade the player. March, she obviously reported they were poking around. The Patriots were poking around on A.J. Brown. March 13th, she doubled down. Patriots are making a strong push for A.J. Brown. She was the first to say the phrase, heating up closer to June 1st. Which, by the way, how many times have you now heard that been said and permeated? March 28th, she's making pillow talk and cozying up in a hot tub 2 hours away from where the owners' meetings were with the head coach of the very same team that she tied A.J. Brown to continuously. Now, John might not think that that's it's not as big of a deal as I made it. I disagree vehemently. I'm not saying A.J. Brown, it's all sunshine and peaches and cream. I'm not saying that. I don't know. I think there is some smoke there. But again, my new operating state on A.J. Brown is I'll listen to everything. Anything that has to do with Diana Rossini can be discarded in the garbage can. It means nothing to me. It bears no fruit. There is nothing about it that I deem credible or even really worth talking about. Go sleep with the Patriot or do whatever you want. Go in hot tubs. I don't know if you're sleeping. Who knows? Go whatever you want to do. And you can deal with that with your family. But I ain't using your reports as a credible source. No way. No way. I mean, some people are like, well, it might actually mean that there's more truth to it. Yeah, but again, are you of the belief that media people don't have the ability to sway the narrative or the public perception, or in this case, even the league-wide perception? I mean, how do we know Mike Vrabel's not the one saying, keep prying this because I want to pry an opening so that the Patriots can get A.J. Brown? I mean, that could be true too. Big Mike, I think this is a good question, and I don't know. I don't know. Mike says, Zander, do you think that Howie will steer clear of trading AJ to the Patriots? Because I don't know, dude. I don't know. Maybe, Big Mike. Maybe. I don't know how Howie sees it. At the end of the day, I think what Howie's perspective should be is, I'm trying to do what's best for the Eagles at the end of the day. I can't worry about Diana Rossini's career, Mike Vrabel as a coach, the New England Patriots as an organization, perceptions of people in the media. Howie Roseman has one job, and that's to make the Philadelphia Eagles a better roster, a better football team, and built to win. If they get a 1 from the Patriots, shit, and that's the best thing they want to do, well, then I wouldn't rule that out. Kimberly says, Vrabel's more guilty to me. Head coach of Bill's organization leaking info. Maybe, Kimberly. I think they're both at fault, and I don't put one above the other, but that's fine by me. Philly's Ace said, does that mean AJ's staying here? I don't know, Philly's Ace. I don't think that means that for sure, but I can just, again, I'm out on Diana Rossini and all her reports. And by the way, one more public comment on this. And I know I'm getting into TMZ. I'm getting into the gossip, and I really don't want to do it. But, a public message to Diana Rossini's husband. Get out of there, brother. I don't give a rat's ass whether it's as innocent as they said or not. Get out of there. Again, if you're a married person and that picture comes out of your spouse, I'll let you decide. I'll let you decide. Sleazy people. It's a perfect word for it, Chuck. Hungry Dog says, some countries and religions celebrate polygamy like Mormons in our country. For 90% of the Western population, it destroys families. Not sure what the fuck that has to do with Diana Rossini sleeping with the head coach of the Patriots, or hanging out in a hot tub with him. I shouldn't say sleeping with. We don't know that to be true. But Philly's Ace, does that mean AJ is staying? Oh, I got that one. Zander, you locking hands? Brian Pump, I don't lock hands with anybody, bro. Outside of my woman, I had no interest. Lock hands and hugging and rubbing backs and shit. Scummy person. Rasputin says, I can despise another human being without it affecting my willingness to do business with them if it's all above board. Yeah, see, Rasputin, not me at all. I'm not signing a contract with somebody who will cheat on their own family, because inevitably, Rasputin, when push comes to shove, when shit hits the fan, when it's not all peaches and cream, when things don't work like you thought they were going to work, when the money gets tight, when something happens inevitably, because guess what? It's life. I don't want them in my corner. I don't want to do business with them. I don't want money coming from them. I don't want to be giving them money. I don't want services from them. No, thank you. I'll go another route. And if that means I have to look a little harder or spend a little more or be a little bit more diligent, so be it. I'm uninterested in somebody that turns on their own family. Now, believe me, they'll turn on you too. They'll turn on you too. Now, Reston, you can do whatever you want. I'm just giving you my opinion. I'm uninterested in doing business with people like that. So, all right, guys. Woo, boy. Not what I expected the show to be about today. I can't wait for Cilio's show. You know what? Not often do I say I have no idea what Cilio's perspective is going to be, but I am very excited to hear what Cilio has to say. Some of you might dislike Cilio because of the way he talks about the Philadelphia Eagles, but at the end of the day, I've worked with Cilio for 5 years, and one of the things I've always appreciated about Cilio is he's as real gets. And I've worked with plenty of people in this business who are not. So I don't know. I'm curious to hear what Cilio has to say about it. Pump says, imagine, for the kids. I mean, Pump, that's, again, selfish people who don't give a rat's ass other than pleasing themselves. No interest in doing business. Exactly my point. That's precisely my point. They don't give a shit about their kids. You think they give a shit about you because you go into business with them? The minute you stop serving them, they turn on you too. Don't do business with people like that. That's my perspective. That's just my opinion. You don't have to take it. You can take it with a grain of salt, just like you take Diana Rossini's reports with a grain of salt. So be it. So be it. I have to agree. I've lost a lot. Brandon, it's better to lose money and pursue that. Donald says, I understand what you're saying, Z, but truthfully, cheating is a little different than doing some other things that brings your integrity into question. We don't know how bad either of their lives are. Bullshit. Donald. Oh, I had a bad month. Oh, me and my husband were fighting. Let me go cheat. What? Are you under the impression that relationships, that marriage, that having a spouse and a family and kids is just going to be peaches and cream? And the second it's no longer peaches and cream, you have an opt-out. Oh, hey, it's built in. If we don't have a good year in 2034, well, hey, it's a tough life. Fuck that. Everybody's got a tough life. Everybody's got shit to deal with. You think that's a good enough excuse to turn your back on people? Don't get married then, Donald. Don't make an oath to somebody. I disagree with that 100%. That's exactly the type of thing I think I run from. I don't care what our relationship looks like when it's good. What does that mean? I care what it looks like when it's bad. That's loyalty. That's character. Not when it's good. Hey, when it's good, I'm here. I promise. I got your back. When it's not good, I'm out. When it's not good, I wasn't getting the love or whatever. What a bad Donald. I'm sorry. That's a terrible way to think about it. A terrible way to think about it. I couldn't disagree with you more. But, will AJ be gone? Who knows, folks? Who knows? What the fallout will be? I don't know. Brando, my bad. Did I miss your super? My bad, brother. Let me get to it. I think I got it, but you said you weren't here. What did you say? You were on a call? Jumped on a walk. Yeah, I got you, bro. I'll read it again. AJ, Brando said this. AJ would want to say if he was facing down AJ would want to stay if he was facing down a trade to Cleveland. That's why the 4 teams thing matters. Also, there's a chance he stays if one of those 4 teams don't give up a first-round pick. Oh, Brando, I 100% agree. But you are right in that, beggars can't be choosers. Like, he's got this list of 4 teams, and now Howie has to abide by that too? Bullshit. Bullshit, dude. You don't want to be here anymore. I'm trading you for whatever is best for my organization, not for what's best for AJ Brown. I said I get what you're saying. I think it's a lot more. Well, yeah, Donald, I'm not insinuating they were having an affair. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to insinuate that because I don't know, and I'm not saying it's true. I only have the information that's been publicly made available, and that was pictures that looked pretty awful. And whether their spouses were at the bar or not, Diana Rossini, as a reporter in the NFL, the lead reporter for a massive entity and organization in The Athletic, should not be in a hot tub with the coach of the team she is tying to AJ Brown more often than every other team. That is a conflict. Michael says both claim they were with parties of people. However, the people that leaked the photos said they were. Yeah, that's what the reporting is right now. That's what the stories are in. Tea Time says y'all don't see how bad this looks. Oh, Tea Time, it looks terrible. It looks terrible. Later, friends they claim to be with could not support their claims. Yeah, there's, my pops used to use the word skullduggery. Just saying, at some point, if you limit your business interactions to only the pious, you'll be on an island. So be it, Rasputin. It is what it is, my friend. It is what it is. I'm more interested in pleasing God than building my business, than making money, than whatever the case might be. And I'm not saying I'm always perfect in that or always in pursuit of the right thing. I'm a human being who's subject to mistakes and failure and being wrong. Those are all part of it as well. EC says collusion tampering. Maybe. I am, what I am interested in, on another note, I am interested in how this has been handled. How this is going to be handled, excuse me, with the NFL and with the Athletic. Take out the personal belief of what they've done is wrong and just go into the shoes of the NFL if you can for a second. Again, major conflict here, folks. The lead reporter for a massive entity that covers this league, the lead NFL reporter for that company, the lead NFL, not the lead Patriots reporter, not the lead Eagles reporter, the league-wide lead reporter for The Athletic is Diana Rossini. And she's cozying up with one of the NFL head coaches. I mean, that's going to have to be addressed. Isn't Eskin a business partner in the sense that he's a fairly regular? Well, I mean, if you deem someone being a guest, I don't have a contract. I don't have any. I mean, I don't have any ties. I don't pay him any money. I don't receive any money. It's just a program. Just a program. Did you see what the Athletic? Yeah, that was their first. Let B. Preston. Let's see what the fallout is. Preston, the Athletic said that. Let's see if the NFL does anything. Because I think the NFL is going to have to do something. You ever heard the phrase, protecting the shield? Well, that's a big thing in the NFL world. Protect the shield. That's the most important thing. Protect the shield. Well, Mike Vrabel didn't protect the shield. Diana Rossini didn't protect the shield. The Athletic didn't protect the shield. So if Roger Goodell calls the executive at the Athletic today and says, yo, dude, now we have questions coming up about the credibility of the people who cover our league and whether there's any integrity or any truth involved, or whether there's a bunch of BS that's permeating the narratives. Now I have a public relations nightmare. I'm revoking the Athletic credentials. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying, in theory, if something like that happened, well, guess what? The Athletic, I promise you this. This is what I 100% promise you this morning. The Athletic is more loyal to their credentials with the NFL than they are to Diana Rossini. That is 100% guaranteed. T-Time says journalists are already defending. Yeah, well, guess what, T-Time? I'm not a journalist. And that's like one of those code of conduct things, and look, I'm not going to bash John for it. It is what it is, if he wants to do, that's fine. People are going to look, colleagues are going to defend their colleagues. It is what it is. I have no relationship with her. I have never spoken a word to her. I don't know her from a can of paint. I am simply a spectator and a talk show host. I have zero reason or have been given zero evidence to defend her actions. Zero. You're at tea time. That's that code of conduct, right? Reporters will defend reporters, but won't defend the athletes if they do something stupid. Rasputin says, Rasputin, I appreciate your point. I have no problem with you going back and forth on it, by the way. Believe me, I'm not gonna, I think it's a good thing to challenge and have thought. I'm up here alone, that's why I try and take viewer comments. He says, I get your point and agree that they're terrible human beings, but he's the head coach, not the GM or the owner. Kraft cheated on his wife, and that didn't seem to sway the opinion of making a trade with the Pats. That's fair. That's fair. And again, Rasputin, again, like I said earlier, Howie's business can't be about managing the PR mess that is the New England Patriots or Mike Vrabel or Diana Rossini or the Athletic for that matter. It's to make the Philadelphia Eagles better and to make the best decisions that improve the Philadelphia Eagles, the team, the roster, and where they stand in the league. That's Howie's number one job. My hope is that Howie's loyal to that. And maybe that does mean that making a trade with the Pats makes sense. It might. I'm not saying don't make the trade with the Pats. I'm just saying they're not people that, should be trusted. Since we see this, I'm not trading AJ to the Pats. Who took these picks? Who took the picks? I don't know, folks. That's a bigger question. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure right now it's a bad day to be Diana Rossini's husband, and it's a bad day to be one of her children. And same thing goes for Mike Vrabel and his family. Again, whether you allege there's wrongdoing or not, whether you think that it matters or not, that's something they're going to have to deal with their own families. It's not something I have to deal with. But Big Dom on the picks. Big Dom out here blowing up the AJ Brown trade, baby. That's a conspiracy theory I like. That's a conspiracy theory I like. That is a conspiracy I buy. Big Dom out here showing his value to the Philadelphia Eagles. Hangry Dogs, I want you to think about what you just said for a second. You think the NFL removing credentials from the Athletic would damage the NFL more than it would damage the Athletic? or in the case of your comment, in the context of your comment, I don't believe it would damage the NFL at all. Are you kidding me? You know how many networks there are right now that cover the National Football League? The Athletic is like a drop in the bucket. Come on, dude. NFL removing credentials could bring legal repercussions? I don't think so. Your lead reporter was in a hot tub with the coach. And by the way, that's not a clear-cut court case. That's up that is a subjective court case. So I guess if you get a judge that's on your side, maybe. I think it would be pretty easy to prove the negative repercussions of your lead reporter being in a hot tub with the coach. And maybe that would mean that there needs to be repercussions for Mike Vrabel too. Maybe. But come on, dude. Roseman is correct. The NFL would steamroll the Athletic. It wouldn't even matter. It would be a blip on the radar. I mean, Hangry Dogs, remember here, we're talking about a potential $1 trillion entity when you're talking about the NFL as a whole. You have 32 teams. Let's say the average value of a team is $8 to $10 billion. The teams collectively means they're worth $300 to $320 billion collectively. Now add in the TV deals, add in the league, add in the league office, add in the marketing, add in all of the employees, add in the officiating, add in every other thing that comes with the NFL Shield. I mean, you're talking about $1 trillion entity here. Yeah, that's right. That's right. The NFL reporter who was sleeping with Jimmy Butler or allegedly in the bubble. That's right. It's a good pull, Rasputin. And you're right. I believe it did cost her. What was that lady's name? Rachel, I think. Rachel Nichols. Is that it? Rachel Nichols. Yep, that's it. Rachel Nichols. I'm pretty sure that did cost her a job. I'm not sure exactly, so I don't want to speak in absolutes there, but I don't think it could be considered tampering because she's not with like a team, you know? So I'm not sure, but obviously I have thoughts on the process. I have thoughts on the way it unfolded. I am not afraid to give them to you as I've done here on Zander Time. All right. You can agree. You can disagree. That's fine by me. I appreciate you I appreciate you pushing back or making the conversation. I think it's all worthy of response and conversation. I have my opinion. That's just that. It's my opinion. Doesn't mean that it's perfectly right. It's just my opinion right now. All right. Pumpers bringing the real truth to, I mean, folks, we can turn a blind eye. And again, I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm liable for making up or for stating something as fact that's not fact, i.e. she had an affair, i.e. they're sleeping together. I don't know. That might not be true. Remember, I have a legal I can't be up here and state things publicly that might not be true. But the public information is pretty damning. The photos, it's some sort of private luxury hotel for couples. You know, they're up on a private bungalow balcony together. They're sitting there half naked in a hot tub together. You know? Yeah. Again. I don't know what your moral compass is or what guides it. And I'm not saying that you have to subscribe to mine. But I ask you, if you're a married person, you know what? Even if you're not a married person, I'm sure you have the ability to put yourself in the shoes of somebody that has committed or made a commitment or taken an oath or got married. I mean, you know, whatever the case might be. How would that bode in your household? If that was your spouse, if that was your significant other, wait a second. You're 2 hours away from where you flew to work. You're sitting in a hot tub with nobody else around on the pictures. Because remember, we only know what the pictures show. Donald, you're right about that. That's all our family knows too. And I guarantee you they ain't happy. Angelo, that's the truth. You have to live with the choices you make, good and bad. No doubt, my friend. No doubt. No doubt. All right, folks. Good Zander time today. Appreciate all you guys being here. We are 15 days out from the 2026 NFL draft. All right. So we will see what it is and what ends up coming of it. Seriously, on the hunt, I'll take it. I wouldn't even think the conversation would be over. Conversation's over. That's why I tell. Public statement to him, bro. Get out of there. Here's Slager. I looked it up. There are various protocols that the NFL could use to terminate press credentials of a reporter in an appropriate relationship with the. I'm sure there are, Slager. Yep, I'm sure there are. I'm absolutely sure there are. So, all right, guys, appreciate you all. Good conversation. Appreciate all those checking in. I do appreciate going up, going back and forth, having the conversation. I think they're all fair, all good points made by many of you, Dio and Rasputin and Donald. I do appreciate it, but I have my thought process on it. I appreciate you guys listening today. Don't forget to hit the like button on the program. 15 days out from the draft, it should be good. And I will see you guys this afternoon. I'm excited to hear what Cilio has to say about all this as well. So see you next time, everybody.
EAGLES, Eagles.